At number 10, we have Something in the Grove. SVX files on Reddit and some friends would hang out and explore a local small grove by them in Minnesota. They made up monsters that lived there by the abandoned sheds for the local kids, but they ended up having some weird experiences of their own later on. As they entered the grove on one of their visits, the air got cold. They all got chills. They heard twigs snapping and cans would fly from the sheds. And then on another visit, they ended up sprinting back down the path to get to a streetlight after it chased them, they wrote. And then on another night, something was standing on the tops of the trees across from them, across the grove, but it was right next to them after one of the friends yelled at it and they turned around and came back. What chased them, the guy who wrote it described as 7 to 8 feet tall, stark white and bipedal, but could run on all fours. So was this a crawler? That's what they're asking. At number 9, we have Seen on the Side of the Road. Ruby Burr on Reddit posted that he saw something that could be a crawler on the side of the road. Him and his friend were driving home when they saw what they thought was a person standing on the side of the road. It was standing absolutely still as they drove by. It stood 6 to 6.5 feet tall and was pale. Not like me, but more pale. It was hunched over in tattered clothes with stringy long hair. But something was off about it. Its knees were bent the opposite way, it had black pits for eyes and no noticeable mouth. He thought it was maybe just a figment of his imagination, but when he turned to the driver of the car, her face was just as shocked and filled with fear as his was. They sped up and didn't look back, though he said later that he wished he did just to see if it was real. On to number 8, Crawling Out of the Bushes. Another user on Reddit shared their own story, and they have actually gone on to make their own subreddit called the Sunshine Commission in order to demystify crawlers. Their own scariest experience was when they were letting their dog out at 2 a.m. As their dog was doing their business, they took a look around. They lived in a rural area in Quebec near the forest, so they saw a number of wild turkeys and deer. But something else caught their eye. A dark spot. It looked like a human head coming out of the bushes, but they didn't have a good view because of the lack of light. So they called their dog back so it wouldn't run after whatever this creature was, but the dog wasn't in the hurry. You know dogs, they just do what they want. But then the creature began to leave the shadows and head towards the street, and so they got a good look at it. It looked like a human with thin limbs, but a normal body and a slightly longer neck. So they shook a treat cup for their dog to hurry up and get inside and then ran and shut the door behind them. They watched as the creature crawled fast, saying it looked like a dog running with every limb broken, and it had no fur like a shaved animal. They described it as disgusting, an experience they did not want to have again. So that same user had another story, this time with creepier sounds. At number 7, the screams. So a couple months after the first encounter, they were chilling in bed watching gaming videos on their phone. They were getting annoyed with a reoccurring distant scream that they thought was coming from the video. But while they waited for another video to load, the scream happened again. From their window, they could hear the scream they described as a mix between a distorted scream and a pig having his throat slit, or a strong pain of whining from a dog. Out their window, they could see a human-sized creature move unbelievably fast through a pool of light there, and it was crawling like a spider. There were 3 more screams after that before it stopped. At number 6, out camping. Gray's 1974 was out camping in Minnesota last year with his wife and daughter. At their campsite, their tent faced a river. You know, quite picturesque. But as he was setting up a campfire to boil water for dinner, something caught his eye. Across the river, something was walking through the forest. No, not Sasquatch. It was something tall with incredibly skinny limbs. Someone shouted at a neighboring campsite, and the creature looked over at him. He was shocked as its pale, bulbous head locked eyes with him across the river. Then it got down on all fours and crawled away at an incredible speed in the opposite direction. He did not get a good night's sleep that night. And then they left the next day because he was like, we are not dealing with this. No, it's a no from me. Number 5, crawler stalker. The redditor Carissa has been visited by a weird pale skinny thing all of their life, they say. It makes weird chirping noises and taps on their covers. At this point, they were sleeping completely under the covers as a fearful 7-year-old. One day when they had fallen asleep with their face out, they finally got a good look at what was doing this. It was 7 feet tall, super thin, with empty voids for eyes. They were frozen in shock, but it just moved around the room, looking around. It visited them more as a kid, but still, every once in a while they hear chirping and feel the tapping that signals its presence. They still sleep under the covers. Just block it out. While they don't think it's malevolent, it does scare the shit out of them. Number 4, through the bushes. So this was a person out for a smoke break on a porch. And this was in South Carolina. So as they smoked and played on their phone, they heard a loud bang sound. So they looked up at the fence at the top of the hill in their friend's backyard, but they couldn't really see much because there were bushes in the way. But then one of the bushes rustled and a humanoid pale creature crawled out. They described it as human looking but animalistic in the weirdest way. Its legs were long and its skin was pale. It looked like a mix of a dog and an extremely thin person. They quickly put out the cigarette and went inside. So the next day, the host of that gathering said he found that one of the boards of his wooden fence was broken, right behind the bush that the creature came out of. So it did happen, it wasn't just something that they saw. Number 3. Hopping fences. So a woman who sleeps in the living room of her house since the other rooms are usually taken. A woman who sleeps in the living room of her house since the other rooms are taken usually spent her time outside on the porch, her own little space. Her backyard is pretty long and connects to an alleyway. So one night she was sitting on her porch, as she does, and she sees something standing in the alley. She told her kid later that it was a human figure, completely white and about 6.5 feet tall. It hopped their back fence with ease and started sprinting at her, disappearing a couple feet from the porch window. Once she unfroze from shock, she ran to the kitchen where her kid was and grabbed a knife from the sink, looking out the back door for the creature. Her kid was obviously a little bit confused, but understood the story once it was explained to her. On to number 2, climbing crawler. So SOKE1315 responded to a post with her own crawler sighting. For some context, she has an elevated back enclosed screen porch, so if someone walks past, usually only their top of head peeks over. Anyways, she had friends over and she was another person smoking a cigarette on her porch. She knew what different animals' footsteps sounded like from over the years and then heard something different from the usual. She felt dread but fought to convince herself every time she heard it that it was just a deer. Just a deer. So she moved from leaning on a post by the screen to the door into the house so that she could look out at the woods and not have, her back to whatever was happening. So the footsteps continued moving back and forth. She put out her cigarette and tossed it towards the ashtray by the screen, and then the thing that she had been hearing ran up to the screen, pressing its face right up to it. It had to be tall, maybe 8 feet, since she could see its chest up from the porch. It was humanoid with a bald head and dark eyes. It was abnormally pale white. It looked distorted and she couldn't make out other human features like ears. She booked it inside and her friend fell over in her chair as she saw it too. The group of friends then heard something on the roof. So they locked all entrances and huddled on the couch with knives out waiting for the police. They told them they feared they had an intruder as they were afraid the police wouldn't come if they told the truth of what they saw. And yes, another person huddling with a knife. Defend yourself. On to, last but not least, number 1, not the chickens. So in rural Missouri, Juggernaut 980 said that they had many experiences in what he thought was a forest school. His family had chickens in a coop when he was young, but something kept killing them. It would be fine for the first couple of months, but then something would tear open the wired fencing of the caged area and they would find 1 or 2 chickens torn up laying in the yard. His parents said, yeah, it's just wolves, wild dogs or something. So his mom was the one who wanted the chickens, so there were 4 or 5 years where they would get batches of chickens only for them all to die. So then his mom gave up. She took those years off, but then when her son was in senior year, she wanted to try again. It was, again, good at first. But then the chickens were getting killed again. And this time, whatever it was killing them wasn't tearing through the fence, but peeling off the wire roof. Kinda hard for dogs. This was a 5 to 6 foot high cage, and the dad's old excuse of wild dogs just wasn't enough of an explanation anymore. So then one night, after driving his sister home from a party, he pulled into the yard next to the driveway. They were facing the chicken coop and his sister just started screaming. He described what he saw as if it was Gollum from Lord of the Rings sitting on top of the chicken coop. Pale white with thin hair on the top of its head, red eyes that glowed in the headlight of the car, and it was hissing at them. He locked the car and flashed the brights and honked the horn, and it ran off into the woods. Their parents didn't believe them until a couple days later. Their dad heard the chickens screeching and went out with a gun to shoot the wild dogs. He came back white as a ghost and refused to talk about what he saw. Probably the same thing his children did. Yes.
Number 10. Mothman. So the Mothman is this big old flying dude with wings and red eyes. Floats around and you know what? Boo! Mothman sucks. Look, okay, I grew up in the area where this cryptid is supposedly haunted, and you know what? Yeah, I did see him. Big old spooky red eyes flying around doing whatever. Oh no, he was near a bridge when it collapsed. He precipitated disaster. The only thing that actually happened to me when I saw him was just my house flooded, I failed all my final tests, and my girlfriend broke up with me. I mean, who even cares, right? God, Mothman is such a loser. Oh, I'm a big scary moth. Look at me. Oh, I'm mothing it up. No, I'm not bitter. Shut up. Number 9. Demon Cat. Good old Demon Cat. Making its home in Washington, D.C., this fiendish feline is known to stalk the White House and the United States Capitol building. Supposedly in the 1800s, cats were brought to the Capitol building as a means of combating the rat problem. And while they couldn't get all the politicians, some legends claim that one cat remained stalking the basements. It can only be seen prior to elections and other tragedies in Washington, supposedly having been seen before the assassinations of JFK and Lincoln. Why has this kitty stuck itself in the minds of those who have seen it? Well, apparently apparently, when spotted, this cat actually grows to massive proportions, leaping at its viewer before just vanishing. Now, some blame the Capitol Police Force's poor screening for alcoholics at the source of this misunderstanding, as when viewed from the floor, anything might appear large. But as one guard was apparently taken by a heart attack upon seeing the categorical size of such the beast, who can really say for sure? Number 8. Sewer alligators. Taking a big ol' bite out of the big ol' apple are our guys in green, the sewer gators. According to the New York Times, there's actually a massive problem with folks trying to keep alligators as pets within the city. But as for the ones that aren't caught, what might happen to their pets once they've outgrown their owners? Now, legend has it that in the 1930s an infestation began, gators making their home within New York's stinky subsystems. Supposedly, they've clashed with the NYPD, who claimed to have vanished their bescaled opponents, though sightings have continued throughout the modern days. Likely their greatest impact was the inspiration for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, though I might just be making that up. Number 7. The Honey Island Swamp Monster. Better known as Le Bête Noire, this humanoid horror is reported to be located within the Honey Island Swamp in Louisiana. Described as walking on 2 legs and 7 feet tall, Le Bête Noire is reported to be preceded by a foul odor. Now, casts have been taken of its feet, showing a total of 4 toes, which indicates that it may not be related to humans or apes, as some legends claim that a crashed circus train may have allowed for a band of chimpanzees to escape into the wild, where they probably adapted to their environment and fell into legend. Knowing how circuses generally treat their animals, good for them. Number 6. Lava bear. Discovered in the area surrounding South Central Oregon, the lava bears are a group of extremely small bears that have been observed emerging from the lava beds common to the area. Several hunters have claimed to have caught these ferocious beasts, which initially appeared to be bear cubs but were in fact fully grown adults. Once news of this made rounds, the hunt for the bears was on, and in 1923, one was caught by a US Forest Service trapper by the name of Alfred Andrews. Andrews was offered a reward for the bear's body, but turned it down in favor of parading it around the country, making quite a chunk of change on the side, until his partner stole the bear and vanished. Several other bears have been captured, and in 1924, one of the local high schools decided that its mascot would become the lava bear. It is also still their mascot. Seriously. Number 5. The black dog. Yeah, I put this in here to contrast the demon cat because I, think they should be friends. The black dog is a demonic creature originating in Europe, most famously in the story The Hound of the Baskervilles, but it's also been cited in the States. A beast with burning red eyes, W.H.C. Pynchon wrote, "If you meet the black dog once, it shall be for joy. If twice, it shall be for sorrow, and the third time shall bring death." Demonic dogs have been spotted in Connecticut and Massachusetts, and truckers have a saying where if you see one, it's time to pull over or a crash will be the least of your concerns. Number 4. Ludwig the Bloodsucker. Back to New York, and it turns out that gators aren't the only things looking to take a bite out of streetwalkers. Described as a 3-foot-tall German man, Ludwig the Bloodsucker is reported to be a local vampire. Now, legends claim that he was too minute to take down a German man and too ugly to seduce a German woman, so he just booked it over to the States for easier pickings. Haunting the Bowery Street, several victims were left alive but incessantly mocked by the vampire, usually for their drunken stupor. Local newspapers reported about the man's habits, locating him as a German tailor by day. There are apparently even interviews where he goes on record to claim that blood is healthy and good eating. Mixed with the way that immigrants were treated at the time, I doubt that went over well. Number 3. Two-Toed Tom. Listen, there's a lot of gators in the States, but Two-Toed Tom might be the most famous. The story goes that this 14-foot alligator could be identified for having lost all but 2 toes to a trap, and would eat farmers and their livestock. Now, fed up with the beast, many brave men would band together to hunt the reptile, but whether it was ex-military marksmen or dynamite-brandishing pharmacers, none could destroy this devil. Bored with Alabama, the gator was reported to have left its hunting grounds, apparently settling for Florida, where there would be more failed attempts to take down two-toes. 50 years later, a series of two-toed tracks were discovered near his old hunting ground, and the legend of two-toed Tom marches on. Number 2. Hodag. Now this strange creature made its home in Wisconsin, described as possessing the head of a frog, the face of an elephant, short legs with massive claws, the back of a dinosaur, and a long spiked tail. Reported by land surveyor and trusted member of the community Eugene Shepard, he rounded up a group of brave hunters to capture the beast, an attempt which apparently required the usage of dynamite. Sending a picture of its remains to the media, they declared the safety of its primary food source for all time to come, the white bulldog. Thank goodness that the white bulldog may now roam Wisconsin once more. Alright, fine, it was a big hoax, and it was a really good one. Good enough that the local town decided to build a statue in honor of the beast. They also hold a festival in its name, which I've actually been to, but the effort that went into this hoax was actually quite extensive, and when Shepard had claimed to capture the creature, he even displayed it using a puppet show, piloting a wooden facsimile of the beast. Number 1. The Jersey Devil. Here's a real classic, the Jersey Devil, known for living in Jersey. Well, okay, taste and location aside, this creature is a sight to behold, a horse-like demon with bat wings and a forked tail. It was apparently born human, the 13th offspring of Mother Jane Leeds, who had cursed the unborn upon discovery of her pregnancy. Once born, the demon was revealed in all its horror, and gave everyone in the room a highly motivated beatdown before yeeting itself up and out the chimney. There have been sightings of this creature throughout history, one of the most notable viewers being Napoleon's brother. Seriously. This creature has also been reported to be capable of surviving direct cannon fire, and in 1909 there were a slew of sightings which set off a search for the fabled devil. A search which mostly ended in vain, even though there was a $10,000 reward that was promised for live capture. And of course, someone then tried to submit a kangaroo with fake claws and bat wings. Anyways, it's just another reason not to go to Jersey, and it's just about as good of one as any.
At number 10, we have the Flatwoods Monster, aka Green Monster. So this being has been seen in Flatwoods, West Virginia, and gave it the moniker Home of the Green Monster. It's a 10-foot Frankenstein-like monster in the hills above Flatwoods. It's described as 10 feet tall with a blood-red body and a green face that seems to glow. It was hard to tell by witnesses at the time because of dense mist, but it may also have claws for hands. It was also accompanied by a noxious odor. Now those that saw it were aged between 10 and 17 and were terrified and ran for their lives. The dog that was with them was frightened too, with the tail between their legs. Now some say the creature may have come from a UFO that was sighted 5 months before this sighting, and locals who believe say the red-eyed creature could eat people alive and that they better watch out. So, ooh, maybe. Looks very futuristic and scientific if you ask me. At number 9, we have Aswang. Aswang is a name given to various shape-shifting evil spirits in Filipino folklore. People say it stalks prey in the small, rural towns of the Philippines. It is a nocturnal hunter, specifically. During the night, they find prey and prefer children and pregnant women. They appear as regular townspeople by day. An Aswang may have reclusive habits or magical abilities, including the ability to shapeshift into dogs or pigs. They may also walk with their feet backwards, so that's something to look out for. Also, they have a proboscis tongue that they can use to suck blood from their victims. Very gross. And some may make doppelgangers of their victims that return to the victim's home, get sick, and die, to keep it a little more on the DL that they're killing, I guess. Now some people say the folklore was used as an explanation for murders or infant and mother mortality rates, others say it's real. On to number 8, Octoman of the Ohio River. So 5 people claim to see it in the winter of 1959. They say they saw a gray-skinned kind of octopus-like creature. One man reported that something came out of the water and that it was just indescribable. Then another man, a truck driver, called the police and said, "It came out of the water, I can't describe it, and I have never seen anything like it before. All I want to do is get out of here and get on to Indianapolis." Okay. The police didn't seem to take it seriously, but anyone who reported it, they were shaken by it. Around the time these reports were popping up, lights that ran down 2 separate sides of a street on 2 different circuits went out, and authorities couldn't figure out why. So some people say that this Octoman might have triggered that. And then a man described only as a scientist in the news allegedly saw a large hulking creature along the rail of the bridge they were crossing. The description: strange grayish creature with a lopsided chest, ugly tentacles, and rolls of fat running horizontally over a bald head. So let me know if you see that description in the Ohio River. Number 7. Staying in Ohio, let's have a look at Loveland frogmen, aka Loveland lizard. So this lovely lizard or frog stands 4 feet tall. It's a frog humanoid figure spotted in Loveland, Ohio. According to legend, a local man reported seeing 3 frogmen with leathery skin, webbed hands, and feet on the side of the road in 1955. He said he saw one wield what looked like a wand that emitted sparks above its head and then ran away. So in 2016, one of these might have also scared 2 teenagers. They were playing Pokemon Go, as we do, between Loveland Madeira Road and Lake Isabella. They saw a giant frog near the lake that stood up and walked on its hind legs. So was it kind of reclusive after people saw its magic, or what happened? What's with the frogmen? I want to know. Really. On to number 6, Menehune. The Menehune are mythological dwarf or pygmy people that live in forests and hidden valleys of the Hawaiian Islands. Apparently, they're great at crafting too. So the Menehune are usually described as playful and even mischievous. They have distended bellies, they're described as, and they are hairy, muscular, and 2 or 3 feet tall with bushy eyebrows over large eyes. Apparently, they also speak in a low hum. This may be because they are shy creatures that sleep in caves during the day and work at night. As I said before, very mischievous. For example, Gloop Gloop Glop said on the Cryptozoology Reddit that they took things from their campsite and returned them later and possibly also stole a piece of cake. Just like a little bit of stuff interacting. But also other stories go that modern Hawaiians mingled with them and that they started using them for labor. And then after that, the Menehune retreated and hid from society because they were kind of being exploited. But historians also argue just about their actual existence, could be saying that it might just be folklore. Some stories go that children who live near the mountains can see them, but adults cannot. A school teacher in Hawaii said one of the kids she taught could see them, and it scared the child. One time the young girl saw 2 Menehune playing an old game with a lava rock and some sticks, and one looked over at her. When they locked eyes, the little girl was terrified, so she went and got a Hawaiian blessing. Felt better then. Then the school teacher herself saw weird lights popping up, and she was told later those were sacred lights. And then others also reported seeing those lights when they had Menehune, or what they thought were Menehune, interacting with them. So what's up? There's a water bottle company that is Menehune, so maybe they make good water. I don't know. But let's move on to number 5, Beast of Bray Road. So this could be a hairy humanoid creature with canine features. It was seen mainly in the 90s in Delavan and Elkhorn in Wisconsin. So local folklore called it a werewolf, but many cryptozoologists called it more of a Bigfoot because of the scientific issues associated with saying a human turns into a wolf, instead saying, no, maybe it just stays a wolf. Yeah. Also, others even just think it's more of a cryptid canine, and other names are the bear wolf and the indigenous dogman. Also, others commented it may be a black bear with sarcoptic mange. This is possible since there is a thriving black bear population in Wisconsin. Although they're more common in the upper third of Wisconsin, they have an expanding population that's below. And all in all, a person would be like, oh, why is there a black bear here and why does it look kind of like a dog? Look at a picture for yourself, you'll get it. So one person's experience was when they were having a sleepover in the summer. They were playing hide and seek in the dark and saw something huge hunched over in a bush. It didn't appear to be any dog or wolf, as it was much too big to be as small as one of those. Its hind legs were thick and muscular like a man, but tapered at the abdomen and had a head like a wolf or canine. So they asked their dad, what is that scary creature? And when he tried to get a look, he had no idea either, so they all hightailed it inside, as I would too. Even if it is just a black bear with mange. Still something to be afraid of. On to number 4, Beast of Boggy Creek, another beast. And it's also known as the folk beast, or the folk monster, after the town it was reported in. In 1971, a man named Bobby Ford told the town constable that he was attacked at his house by a hairy creature that breathed heavily, had red eyes, and moved very fast. He also described it as 7 feet tall and 3 feet across at the chest. He was treated at a hospital for minor scratches and shock after his alleged attack. His wife, brother, and a hunting companion were also eyewitnesses. Other descriptions of it sound similar to a skunk ape. Those other descriptions said the folk monster smells like a mix of wet dog and skunk, which is the same alleged smell as the skunk ape. The folk monsters also said to swing its arms like a monkey, so maybe a stinky Florida ape. I mean skunk ape. Same thing. It's funny, if you look at pictures of stinky Florida ape, skunk ape comes up, so, you know. On to number 3, Manananggal. So either seen as a man-eating, blood-sucking monster or witch, this Manananggal is described as scary, hideous, and often female. It has wide eyes, long hair, and can sprout fangs and claws. Legends say it also severs its torso and sprouts bat wings to fly off and find its next prey. Its name comes from the Tagalog word tangal, which means to remove or separate. It splits its body to transform and then find its victims. Similar to the aswang, it preys on people who sleep and pregnant women. It is also said to target grooms since it may have been a woman that was left at the altar. So similar to the folklore of vampires, they are said to detest garlic and salt, and so to defeat one you simply find their weaker, lower half and sprinkle some garlic and salt on it. Just salt bay it, done. So let's move on to number 2, Mokele Mbembe. So the name means one who stops the flow of rivers, and that's because it's probably pretty huge. It's said to be a cryptid that resembles a brontosaurus, and Ivan Sanderson, a biologist, even documented its existence. So maybe not all dinos were wiped out by a meteor. Who knows? It's been spotted in the Congo, and while some say it's like its look-alike the brontosaurus, which was most likely a herbivore, some say it's allegedly a carnivore, with some saying it eats hippos. Hippos. Also, anything that can eat hippos is something to fear. I know hippos, they look really cute, but they're so dangerous. They have run as fast as 30 kilometers an hour over short distances and are very aggressive. Their teeth are huge, and they could crush you to death under their weight. So, if Mokele Mbembe can take them on, you should watch out too. All I'm saying. And if they're running away from it, you could be crushed while they're running away from the Mokele Mbembe. Also, it's just a fun word to say. At number 1, we have Grootslong, or Grootslong. Just roll the R. The Grootslong, also known as the Groot slang, is Afrikaans or Dutch for big snake, because it is one big snake. It is a legendary or mythological cryptid that allegedly lives in the Richtersveld in South Africa. It is said to either be a huge elephant-like creature with a serpent's tail or a humongous snake with an elephant's face and gems for eyes. Either way, very creepy. It's claimed to lure elephants into its cave, aka the Wonder Hole or the Bottomless Pit. Sound very different. So the cave is said to connect to the sea that is 40 miles away, and it's said to have many diamonds. The thing is, this beast is in there with those precious gems, so might not go for the diamonds. Some say it likes gems, and explorers can bargain for their freedom by offering enough loot to the Grootslong, sorry. But either way, I'd say don't go out hunting for it, you know?
Coming at number 10, we have the Super Mario Shadow People. Super Mario Galaxy is a game known for pure fun, bright colours, familiar faces, and a whole lot of bouncing around on little stars. It's also gained a reputation for featuring the Shadow People. At the beginning of the Shiverburn Galaxy level, strange shadowy figures can be seen at the top of the cliff in the background. Now at first, many people brushed this off as just people's imagination running wild. Then someone took the initiative to look through the game files. They found that the name of the background image is called Hell Valley Sky Tree. Who said anything about Hell Valley? The internet exploded with conversation about this. Who were these shadow people, always watching you, even though you can never get any closer to them, and nobody even mentions them in the game? Some people have tried to explain these away as just trees, but others say, I ain't seen no tree that looks like that. It's one of those things where if Nintendo actually acknowledged it, it may not be so creepy, but the fact that they have still refused to means people are left wondering who the shadow people of Hell Valley are. Next up at number 9 now, we have the Hall of Tortured Souls. This is a well-known Easter egg that was hidden in the coding of Windows 95. Deep in the software, there is a hidden game there. Nobody knows who found it first, but this is how you find it. To enter the game, go to Microsoft Excel 95. Open a new blank Excel worksheet. Go down to the 95th row and select the whole row. Tab over to column B, go to Help/About, tap and hold Ctrl Alt and Shift, and then click the tech support button. Then the game will appear. It's called Hall of Tortured Souls. Players use their arrow keys to move in 8 different directions. Eventually, you will find a staircase. The walls are surrounded by text with the names of the creators on. On the next level, there is a small room with red walls. Again, the names of the creators will flash up on the screen. Go down a bit and enter the room where you were before. Type the magic word XLKFA. Another room will open where you have to follow zigzagging black paths. Eventually, you will find the end of the game. A picture of the developers of the software. The whole thing is a little bit unnerving. Even though the game has been discovered and completed at this point, many people are creeped out by its name. Hall of Tortured Souls. They feel there may be something much darker hidden deeper in that game. Maybe one of you guys will be the one to find it. Next up at number 8 now, we have Polybius. Some call this the most dangerous video game ever made. The story begins in Portland, 1981. A local arcade hall was attracting more visitors than normal. All the games were busy, but only one had a long line of people wanting to play it. A new game, Polybius. The players couldn't stop playing it. When they were finally forced off it, they began to act strangely. They said they felt nauseous, stressed, and had terrifying nightmares. Others had seizures. There were even reports of all the madness forcing people to suicide. The one common thing that everyone felt was that they were unable to control their own thoughts anymore. Then people began to notice that the game was being serviced a lot more than usual. Other games might get checked by technicians maybe once a month, but Polybius was being checked every single week. Men in black suits would come, record its data, and then leave. They would never take the coins and seemed to have no interest in the money it had made. After a while of this, the mysterious arcade game vanished as soon as it arrived, taken by the very same men in suits. People believed that the men and the machine were from the CIA, that it was all part of a mind control program, an experiment that was sending subliminal messages to players. So, was there any truth to this? Well, that's the faith you kind of need to put into the story. The story has been repeated and spread for almost 40 years now, but it's very hard to verify as the arcade machine and the men who monitored it disappeared without a trace. If this program has continued to modern times though, perhaps they've just got better at hiding their experiments in your games. Next up at number 7 now, we have the ghost of GTA 5. It's been almost 5 years now since GTA 5 was released, and by now it seems that players really have discovered every last secret and Easter egg the game has been hiding. One of them does stick out as a lot more creepy than others though. Near the peak of Mount Gordo there is a flat rock on the ground which bears the word Jock written in blood. Between 11 PM and midnight in the game, the player can see the ghost of a woman appear near the rock with long black hair and wearing a white dress. She is said to be the ghost of Jolene Cranley Evans. She was the wife of Jock Cranley, a famous stunt double in the game from years ago. Story goes that she didn't want to move from their home near Mount Gordo to the city of Los Santos so that Jock could pursue his stunt double career. He took her up for a walk on the mountain and pushed her off, where she fell to her death. He was arrested but released due to lack of evidence. Now she haunts the mountain in the game. If players go to a nearby campsite, they can hear screaming or an incomprehensible whispering sound which, if played backwards, says, "Let's see your shot." The final creepy thing is that if you try to approach this ghost, she will vanish straight into the night. Next up at number 6 now, we have Luigi is dead. There's something you Luigi fans never want to hear. However, there are clues in some Super Mario games that he really is. In Luigi's mansion, during the blackout that happens after the boss battle of Area 3, Luigi journeys to the telephone room and answers 2 calls. During these calls, while Luigi is holding the phone to his ear, the player must wait until there is a lightning flash, and then they will see that Luigi's shadow has been twisted into a way that looks like he's been hanged. Now, some people say this shadow is the metaphorical shadow of a much darker game that was actually meant to be released, or that they just forgot to take this part out. Others say this was intentional and a nod from the developers to the fact that Luigi has been dead for many years now. He killed himself after always having to live in the shadow of his more popular and famous brother. Nintendo says it's just a glitch, but others say that's just a cover-up, and as much as Nintendo fans don't want to hear it, Luigi is dead. Next up at number 5 now, we have Lavender Town. Those of you that have played the original Pokemon games on Game Boy may already be familiar with how creepy the Lavender Town theme music is. I mean, the whole town is based around dead Pokemon. That's kind of the point, but there is a story that goes way deeper and darker than you know. Following the release of Pokemon Red and Green, there were a number of reported child suicides in Japan. When players got to Lavender Town, the music had a strange effect on them. Let's hear it really quick as a reminder. People said the song was created with a hidden code in it that would drive children to kill themselves. Subliminal code used very high frequencies, ones that only young kids can hear and not adults. This became known as Lavender Town Syndrome. Supposedly, 200 children committed suicide in Japan because of this, and many more developed illnesses and afflictions. The children who committed suicide usually did so by hanging or jumping from heights. Those who did not succumb to the suicidal pull still complained of severe headaches after listening to the Lavender Town theme. According to the legend, the developers in Japan were forced to fix the song's frequency to be at a lower frequency before international release. That's the safe version that you and I and many other people have heard. They say the real version can still be found out there, waiting for its next victim. Moving on to number 4 now, we have the Xbox Voices. When the Xbox was first released in 2001, it was praised for its power and cutting-edge technology. Microsoft didn't really want to waste all of that when the console wasn't being used, and so they added some ambient noises which played while it was idle. These noises started out normal at first but quickly got very strange. People said it kind of sounded like the console was channeling voices from the dead. Naturally, people wanted answers from Microsoft. Was this some sort of subliminal messaging? Was it supposed to influence dreams when players fall asleep with a console on in their room? Well, the company said it wasn't actually even their own music. It was public domain audio from NASA transmissions from the Apollo missions. For those of you that don't know, these were the missions that went to the moon. If you think you can handle it, I'd recommend listening to the whole thing. People report hearing robotic voices, whispers, and even Halloween music. Either people are seriously imagining things, or Microsoft and NASA have some explaining to do. Next up, number 3, now we have Kill Switch. This game is just straight up creepy, if it does actually exist. You see, back in 1989, this game was released in which the player had the choice of playing either a Ghast or a Porto. It was nearly impossible to play as Ghast because he was invisible, which meant that almost everyone chose Porto. Items you found appeared at the bottom of the screen. You find pieces of a tape recorder and could listen to events that transformed the mine you're in into the hell that it became. The game was eerie, hollow, empty, confusing, and just creepy all round. But the weirdest part is yet to come. The story goes that if anyone does complete the game, Kill Switch is designed to self-terminate. It deletes all traces of itself on the person's computer like it was never there at all. This is bad news because only a reported 5,000 copies were ever made. Apparently this continued to happen until every last copy was wiped and the company who made the game vanished from existence. A small community of people are trying to replicate the game based on the stories they've heard, but it's slow work and many people feel it's not worth the trouble it could ultimately bring. Moving on to number 2 now, we have Herobrine. Any of you guys who have played Minecraft will surely have heard of this character. When you first play the game, you'll have the ordinary standard skin. Now one day, early in the game's history, a player said he spawned in a brand new single player world. He was playing the game as normal, mining and building, when he saw something moving amongst the dense fog. He thought it was a cow and so chased it. It wasn't though. Staring back at him was a character that had the default skin, but his eyes were empty. There was no name above his head. He double checked to make sure he wasn't actually in a multiplayer server, and he wasn't. The character quickly ran off and disappeared. As the game went on, strange things kept happening. Parts of the game looked like someone had actually been there before, even though this was single player. Every once in a while he claimed to see the strange doppelganger watching him from the fog. After posting this story to the forums, he received a message from a user called Herobrine. It simply said, "Stop." Eventually he and some others found that Herobrine was the name of a Swedish player, possibly the brother of Notch, who is the creator of Minecraft. They asked Notch if he had a brother. He replied, "I did, but he is no longer with us." Thus, the legend was spawned of the creator's dead brother living on in the game's coding, watching players, watching every player, unaware of the afterlife he's ended up in. And finally, number 1 now guys, we have Berserk. This was a very popular arcade game, first released back in 1980 and was a great success and highly addictive. However, it will always be remembered as the first game to be linked to the deaths of some of its players, 3 to be precise. The first was said to be Jeff Daly. He allegedly entered his initials twice in the Berserk machine's top 10 players list before dying of a heart attack. His score was 16,660. People say if you remove the binary numbers of 1 and 0, you get 666. The next victim was Jeff's friend, a guy called Peter Bukowski. Now according to the arcade owner where this machine was housed, Peter arrived and began playing Berserk at 8:30 p.m. He was a top student who hoped to become a doctor one day. He was also very good at arcade games. After 15 minutes of playing, he posted his initials next to 2 high scores on the leaderboard. He then took 4 steps away, put a quarter into a different game, and then collapsed dead from a heart attack. The third death was said to happen to a guy who got into a fight over a quarter that was meant to be put into the Berserk machine. He was stabbed to death. Of course, people began to connect the dots and became convinced that this arcade machine had something to do with all the deaths. It's rare that a kid dies during or just after playing any video game, but 3 all connected to the same one. You can see why the legend of Berserk has persisted.
Starting us off at number 10 is SCP-6789. Back in 1986, a strange occurrence was happening where people kept going into the Himalayan mountains but not returning, which was quite unusual. The few that did end up coming back shared that they heard an extremely loud ringing alarm sound as they tried to leave. It was apparently so loud that they had to cover their ears, yet a lot of them still suffered from partial or complete hearing loss. They didn't know it at the time, but that was because of Siren Head, aka SCP-6789. The SCP Foundation proceeded to evacuate the area before trying to figure out where the source of the noise was coming from. When they finally got 10 meters away from it, it rang another alarm sound that killed half the team in milliseconds. The rest made a run for it, but ended up becoming deaf as a result. Autopsy results of the deceased showed that the alarm had caused their brains to explode, and that is no joke. Now, seeing the threat of this creature, the Foundation bombed the area and restrained the creature in their foundation. Where is it now? God knows. 40 feet, I'm 5'4", that's actually 8 of me. God damn. Coming in at number 9 is the tornado siren. This encounter was shared by Reddit user Ubisoft is awful, who said their friends decided to go walking in the forest of the area they lived in because apparently people just like doing stupid shit. The group was full of skeptics, none of them believed in anything supernatural, let alone siren head related, so they had no fear. A few hours passed and the group saw nothing, but out of nowhere, one of the friends called Jake said, "Did you hear that?" The user said no, but Caleb, another friend, agreed that he had heard something as well. And then it finally hit the user. It sounded like a tornado siren coming from really far away, and it freaked out the group so much that they decided to leave the woods. The more they walked, the louder the siren got, and eventually the siren sounds became shrill screams. It was night at this point and none of the kids had any signal on their phones, so aka they were screwed. Now, they were close to being out of the woods, but obviously the story wasn't going to end in a happily ever after. They never do. The group then saw this gigantic creature with huge swinging limbs and sirens in place of its head. The group started running, but the sounds were only getting louder and closer. The ground then started shaking, and now the group were proper screaming. The sirens started mimicking the group's screams, and the user spotted a cabin in the distance and ran into it before Siren Head could get to her as well. When she finally opened the door the next morning, her friends were nowhere to be found. No one believed anything she said, and she still hasn't gone back to those same woods since. I mean, who would? At number 8, we have the Pennsylvania happenings. Apparently, Siren Head has taken a major liking to the state of Pennsylvania since there have been numerous sightings of the creature there over the years. In 1984, a group of 4 teenagers decided to go camping in Allegheny National Park, and all was well to begin with. But after spending 4 days camping, the parents of the group started freaking out since they should have been back by then. The parents reported them missing, and a few days later, one of the teenagers in the group showed up at his house alone. He was visibly shaken and disoriented, and when his family asked where everyone was, he said they were taken by something huge and lanky in the woods. No remains of the others were ever found. The second Pennsylvania incident took place in 1992, a full 8 years after the first one. A drifter claimed he had seen some creature as tall as a telephone pole with speakers hanging off it near New Hope. He didn't go near the creature since he wasn't a dumbass, but he reported that it sang an old song. I wonder what that song was. Hopefully something nice, you know? Filling at number 7 slot is Catherine. Back in 1978, 9-year-old Catherine decided to investigate the bizarre sounds coming from the woods behind her house's backyard. She ventured into the woods alone at night, never to be seen again. Her sister claimed Catherine had heard their mum calling them, but that simply just couldn't have been true. Their mum wasn't home, and the voice sounded wrong. It sounded distorted and just way too echoey. Can you imagine this tiny 9-year-old girl being taken by this 40-foot monstrosity? God knows what it did to her, but considering she vanished, my bets are on him either having eaten her or just plain murdered her. None of which are appetizing, my friends. Now, at number 6 is Chad. Chad. You know, there are some novel male names that you just know are gonna cause you trouble, like they're the ones your parents warned you about. Chad is one of them. Chad is gonna lead you on for a month, sleep with you, and then ghost the shit out of you, but not before he tells his best friends Brad and Tyler, because otherwise the trifecta just wouldn't be complete. Chads are trouble, you guys, and that was no different on July 16th, 1995. Chad and his friends went hiking in the woods of Tanya Creek in Arkansas and saw what they thought was Siren Head in the distance. We don't know what truly happened in the woods after that, but according to Chad, his friends were taken by some enormous being striding through the trees. It was apparently copying their voices and luring them out one by one to either kidnap or kill them. Or, you know, Chad just let Siren Head have them as bait so he could escape himself, but I mean, who knows? He did sustain some injuries though, so maybe he was telling the truth, or maybe he was just committed to making his story look real and inflicted them himself. We don't know. Do we trust Chad? Do we not trust Chad? I don't know. I don't trust Chad. Coming in at number 5 is the park ranger. Back in 1990, a park ranger at Kings Canyon National Park found a man clinging to a tree branch 20 feet off the ground. Despite trying to talk to him many times, the man did not respond to a single word that came out the ranger's mouth. Confused but eager to help, the ranger radioed in for some help and went on his way. By the time rescue operations finally arrived at the scene, that man was dead and most of the tissue on his face, like his eyes and eardrums, had mysteriously ruptured. I mean, I don't want to state the obvious here, but I wonder which 40-foot tall creature is loud as hell and can rupture people's bodies. Siren Head. That's who. At number 4 is the jog. This one was submitted by an anonymous Redditor who said she was going on her evening jog one day when she realized it was basically empty outside. Now usually there were some cars around or a few joggers here and there, or at least someone walking their dog, but today there was no one. 15 minutes into her jog, she heard this piercing white noise sound that was physically hurting her brain. Unable to continue on with her jog, she decided to sit down on the trail she was on and wait till the sound stopped. But as you can probably guess, it did not. It got louder and the user couldn't take it anymore, so she eventually passed out. When she woke up, she felt like she was being carried by something, and she was damn right. She looked down to see herself 40 feet off the ground and she was like, what the hell is this? When she looked up, she saw Siren Head taking her to what I'm guessing was its lair or house or cave or hellhole, I don't know, whatever it came from. But when the creature realized she was awake, it started blaring its siren again and she lost consciousness once again, only to wake up in the same place she passed out on the trail. Now, was it a dream? Was it real? Beats me! Filling number 3 slot is the photo. Apparently someone managed to snap a picture of Siren Head on the streets of Indiana a few years ago, which is very odd considering it's usually only spotted in wooded areas where it can hide, somewhat. Don't know how camouflage it expects to be at 40 feet tall, but good effort, mate. Either way, after the picture was made public, locals in the area started hearing a strange siren sound, and then slowly but surely, people started disappearing. I couldn't find any other information about the story, so I don't know any more details about how screwed up this is, unfortunately. Siren Head was probably pissed, like, you're not gonna let me take my game to the metropolitan level? I'ma just start snatching all of you off your damn streets. Nowhere is safe. Now at number 2 is the bike crew. This one was shared by Reddit user Eugen8, who said he lives in a rural part of Montana called Stevensville. In town, there was one man who eluded everyone called Jamie Kelson, and he lived on the edge of town. The user was the town's paper boy, and at the end of his route that day, he was on his way to Jamie's house. He was going uphill on his bike when he started hearing the tornado siren. Now initially, he didn't think anything of it, since tornadoes were quite common, but the siren was so alarming, and even more so considering the sky was clear. It didn't look like tornado weather, so he was like, what is this? Slowly but surely, the siren sound started getting closer to the user, and then the ground started shaking, throwing him off his bike. When he looked up, he saw this gigantic head cresting a hill 700 feet away. Slick and metallic, the creature had tubes and wires going through it that somehow looked like its veins. 40 feet tall, its arms were so long they reached the damn ground. It had no eyes, yet it was still looking in his direction somehow. Petrified at this point, he picked up the bike and rode for his life, eluding Siren Head once and for all. And finally, at number 1 are the voices. This one was shared by the same Reddit user Eugen8, but this incident happened the next day at 1:30 a.m. The user Robert was awoken to the sound of a voice, not just any voice, but his best friend's voice. Now that would be normal, but she had disappeared a year prior, so this was blowing his mind and tugging at his heartstrings. She kept saying, Robert, it's me, I'm back. He went outside towards the noise, but the louder it got, the more he wanted to find her. It was like she was saying it right in his ear. That's when Siren Head came out from the town hall. In his hand was the corpse of the town's mayor, and at this point, Robert started screaming for help, and it started chasing him. He got to his house, and his dad opened the door, rifle in hand. He shot it 3 times and kept shooting, but the beast just was not going down. It started emitting white noise from its siren so loudly that it burst his dad's eardrums, and they started bleeding. His neighbors started coming out and shooting the beast at this point, and even started chasing it, because obviously in America all your neighbors have guns, right? It is what it is. Robert ended up dragging his dad back into the house, but the neighbors that chased Siren Head vanished into thin air. And you can bet your ass he never rode to Jamie Kelson's house ever again.
In our number 10 spot, we have Nessie is real. Okay guys, the Loch Ness Monster is real. At least that's what I think after watching this recent video shot from the air looking down upon the water. There is literally a long neck looking dinosaur in the water, and it has to be Nessie himself. Herself? Is Nessie a girl? This is definitely some footage that has been buried deep by the governments of the world, including the FBI. And why, you may ask? Damn, I don't know. Perhaps the discovery of this ancient creature could mean that there's more magical creatures out there. It could mean that there is a portal to a new world in the lake. Or perhaps it means that the wizarding world of Harry Potter is real. Anyways, this video I think is substantial proof that the cryptid that is known as the Loch Ness Monster is in fact real. If you're enjoying this video, don't forget to smash that like button as it really helps us out. In our number 9 spot, we have the deep sea cryptid. Okay, this footage blew my mind when I saw it. I personally think this is proof of yet another mythical ocean creature slash cryptid that we are unaware of yet. The ocean is so big and mysterious, I bet you even mermaids exist. In August of 2018, the Japan Agency of Marine Earth Science and Technology, when they found something in the waters of Sagami Bay near Tokyo. A big creature with big glowing eyes and a gaping mouth. Now at first it appears to move, but as the camera gets closer, it appears to freeze in place. And so, since we don't see it move much, some people say that it's an illusion of a creature and that it's really just a rock that looks like it has eyes, as humans have a tendency to see faces in inanimate objects. But what if it's a creature that became aware of the fact that it was being watched and so it froze to look like a rock? This creature legit looks like it stepped right out of Monsters Inc. I don't know. Anyways, this footage could be nothing, or it could be everything, and that's why it's possible that it's being marketed as possibly nothing. In our number 8 spot, we have the hide behind. I had no idea what this was before I researched this video, but apparently there is an ancient creature known as a hide behind. And these creatures used to hide in forests and were nocturnal, and they would prey upon humans that wander the woods, such as lumberjacks. They are said to be able to conceal themselves. The creature quickly hides behind an object so it's not directly seen. This is how it's able to attack human prey, by stalking them from afar and not be seen. Anyways, now that you know what a hide behind is, this video that was captured by a grandmother certainly shows a creature that looks just like a hide behind. A shadow, if you will. If this video was not staged, and it is real, like they claim, then I definitely think this is proof of some kind of hide behind or mythical creature. Perhaps it's Bigfoot, but certainly this shadowy figure doesn't seem completely normal. In our number 7 spot, we have the Kraken. The giant squid known around the world as the Kraken is an enormous squid-like sea monster originally from Scandinavian folklore. People believe tales of the creature were created after fishermen spotted giant squid out on the water. Anyways, recently something very mysterious was discovered when zooming into the middle of the sea on Google Earth. A strange, large creature that appears to light up and looks to be very large and is creating a wake. Google Earth's measuring tool has shown that the wake is over 250 meters wide. This picture has surely had the FBI concerned, as the internet has been going crazy trying to figure out if that's a kraken, an ancient dinosaur-like fish, or an alien craft that perhaps crashed into the water or is in the water. Without a doubt though, there's something mysterious going on there. Where is the light coming from, my friends? My vote is for alien craft. That makes more sense in terms of where the light is coming from. In our number 6 spot, we have the alien sea creature. This may be our biggest piece of proof that aliens might live underneath us or in the water. This video captured from a Brazilian beach was buried deep online, probably by the FBI because of its mysteriousness. It showcases a very strange looking creature in the water that looks just like every picture of an alien that I've ever seen. Ever think about where we originally got our idea for how aliens look? Yeah, well, probably from meeting them, or possibly from seeing creatures like this. This creature looks like it has arms and legs and is just walking around the shore and isn't seemingly looking threatening, just going about and doing its thing. It was described as a jellyfish-like monster. If that isn't an alien, then please explain to us what that is. Conclusion? It's an alien sea creature. In our number 5 spot, we have the baby dragon. A video was shot showing a creature in a pond that literally looks exactly like the ancient Chinese dragon that we see in folklore. Or they look like Khaleesi's dragons when they were babies. Game of Thrones, anyone? Anyways, this video is wild. Very, very strange. This creature is exactly like every image of a dragon that I'm sure you've ever seen, and it is just swimming around in the water. Dragons are so embedded into many cultures, and over many civilizations, people believed in dragons, and so it just makes you think perhaps they were once real, or perhaps they are real. It's possible though that the old civilizations just stumbled across dinosaur bones that made them think fire-breathing dragons were real too. That's very possible. But in any case, this specific video hasn't been proven to be real, so it's possible that it's fake. But if it were to be real, I'm sure a narrative would be spun around it, because that would be a massive discovery that humans may not be ready for. In our number 4 spot, we have Bigfoot. Look, there are so many stories and supposed sightings of the Mothman, Bigfoot, and honestly, this one is the most interesting one yet. A trail cam was deep in the woods when it captured a giant creature walking through the wood. It might be behind a row of trees, but it is clear as day that this creature is big, whatever it is. It appears to have hands and feet. It doesn't move like a bear, it moves like an oversized human. So this could very well be the best footage of Bigfoot that I've ever seen. Apparently the people that took this footage tend to upload footage of animals and bears and have no drive to tamper with the footage, so a lot of people believe it to be real. Also, apparently after this they set up more trail cams in the hopes of seeing it again, but all of the additional cams went missing. Whoa, that's a smart Bigfoot right there, making sure to watch the humans and get rid of all the evidence. Anyways, I think this is definitely footage the FBI would be worried about, so they themselves could have destroyed the trail cams. In our number 3 spot, we have the Blue Mountains Panther. The Blue Mountains Panther is a creature from Australian folklore that is essentially a giant panther that lives in the mountains of Australia. This panther has had sightings for centuries, however Australia isn't known to have any kind of panther on the continent. Anyways, a picture of what looks like a giant cat-like creature, most likely a panther, was caught on camera, and it's had Australia in a tizzy. It's the Blue Mountain Panther, everyone thinks. It's clear as day that it's a cat-like creature and it looks like a panther. If it is not this mythical creature, then what is it? Would love to know your thoughts in the comment section below. In our number 2 spot, we have Sasquatch. This next footage is really interesting and something I know has been buried because of the sheer amount of people that can confirm its validity. While on a ski slope, a bunch of skiers had to stop as they appeared to see a giant in the woods. Everything you have ever heard about Sasquatch would describe what these people saw. Hairy, ape-like, living in the woods. The footage captured shows it trying to hide, but without a doubt it was seen by many, and that would certainly put a dent in the theory that Sasquatch is a mythological creature. Some people think that our human ancestors or relatives could have survived into the modern era, and so this creature could just be a human ancestor. If this is true, then 1, there must be 2 of them to have continued on the species like this, or 2, if there's only 1, is this an immortal human ancestor from centuries ago? The latter would certainly be cooler. We discovered how to fly in the sky. Perhaps we humans have discovered everlasting life and the general public just doesn't know about it yet. Side thought. In our number 1 spot, an elf. On a First Nation reserve in Saskatchewan, a strange creature was caught on camera that quite possibly the FBI doesn't want you to see. In the video, you see a creature go behind a large rock when the person recording the video turns their light on. It's kinda hard to make out exactly what it is. Some people think that it's an elf, or a fairy, or a wendigo. a type of shape-shifting creature that is evil. Honestly, I don't know what it is, but it appears to be some kind of mythical creature. People have been reporting seeing this monster for thousands of years, and so it makes you think that there might be something to this video, and it could very well showcase something no human has officially been able to confirm before on camera. I hope it's an elf. That sounds way better than an evil shapeshifter. If elves exist, they should just come and live among us. I bet you us humans would accept them. How could we not? They're so cute and cool.
Starting us off at number 10, Dark Watchers. So Dark Watchers are humanoid beings ranging from 7 to 15 feet tall. They are cloaked figures, sometimes with wide-brimmed hats that have been reported to melt and merge with shadows. If you spot one, they can disappear within the blink of an eye. They are mainly spotted in California. The earliest sightings are by the native Chumash tribe, whose oral history of the Old Ones goes back centuries. The Old Ones are said to observe from a distance. As recently as 2018, a man said he encountered one. He was hiking up a remote trail and came upon a dark figure. He waved as a joke, not thinking it was a person, and it waved back. Then, he thought he might just be tripping out or something, so he took a puff of his cigarette, and then the figure blew out a plume of smoke as well. And if that wasn't trippy enough, it started flowing and nearly floating vertically, so the man ran back to his car. If you ever encounter one, don't be too wary. They're not known to harm anyone as long as they're not disturbed, so just keep on your merry way and you should be fine. At number 9, Tizaruk. So the Tizaruk is a sea serpent found in Alaskan folklore that roams Alaska's waters. It's described as 7 feet long with the tail ending in a flipper. The total length is about 12 to 15 feet long. It's also called a Cadborosaurus from one academic suggestion. This led to the nickname Caddy being given to the sea serpent that's occasionally spotted. It's been said to snatch people from docks and piers. So a video came out in 2009 claiming that it was a Tizaruk, but some say it was a herd of sea lions. Mysterious sea serpents are rumored all around the world, shout out to Nessie, and I think Caddy is believable. As recently as 2016, a new species of whale was discovered in Alaska's waters, so really we can't rule out the existence of something else out there. So Tizaruk, Caddy, whatever you call it, Alaska might have it for you. Maybe go take a peek. Hit up Alaska. Why not? On to number 8, the Wampus Beast. So this cryptid is also known as a Wampus cat. It is a jet black panther cat creature with glowing eyes. It's mainly seen in Appalachia. So Cherokee folklore says it was a woman wearing hides to spy on her husband, but guards caught her and cast spells on her. This caused the hide she was wearing to form onto her. One rumor says that the Wampus Beast lives in sewers. But anyways, one story goes that a 9-year-old boy saw this beast late at night. His parents told him to get something from the shed. He went out and came face to face with a jet black panther-like creature with glowing eyes, just as we described. The creature gave a weird high-pitched hissing-like sound, which then frightened the boy to go back inside to his house. Then, years later, on the same farm, the boy had another encounter with the beast. He lost a lot of pigs to the beast, but he did escape the encounter with his life. Number 7, gargoyle. So, you might be familiar because the term gargoyle is used in architecture, but it is also a term to describe cryptids that resemble the gargoyles we see in architecture. They are described as roughly humanoid monsters with leathery bat-like wings. They resemble the popular conceptions of demons pretty much. So a popular example of a gargoyle is the Gargoyle of Glastonbury. This gargoyle supposedly haunts researchers who try to learn too much about King Arthur. But there isn't just one gargoyle out there. One person in the States claimed to see one fly over their car. Their mom was driving and they thought they were the only one to see it, but their mom looked at them, pale as a sheet, and said, "Did you see that?" They described it as a thin, bony, lanky gray thing that was illuminated, coated in like a soft light. They said it kind of looked like a huge, starving, human-esque bat creature, and all in all, I'm just rethinking everything about the Hunchback of Notre Dame right now. Those gargoyles? What if it's based off something real? All I'm saying. All I'm saying. So some people said the possible gargoyle the last person described sounded a little bit like Mothman. So that brings us to number 6, Mothman. If you haven't heard, the Mothman is described as a 6 or 7 foot tall, dark humanoid figure with wings and bright red glowing eyes. This legend began November 1966 in Clendenin, West Virginia. The story goes that 5 men were at their local cemetery preparing a grave for burial. Then, all of a sudden, something that looked like a brown human being lifted off from some nearby trees and flew over their heads. The men were shocked. It did not appear to be a bird, but more like a man with wings. And then, a few days later, sightings kept taking place with stories spreading around the entire region. While it has been spotted all over West Virginia, its main habitat seems to be Point Pleasant. Specifically in an area locals call the TNT area, where there have been hundreds of sightings. So now in Point Pleasant, there is a Mothman statue, Mothman Museum, and Mothman Festival. And honestly, that's just fun hype, and I want to go. So bad. But here's another man creature cryptid at number 5, Dogman. So dogman or dogmen is an umbrella term for an upright canine cryptid. They are mainly found stalking North American woods, as you can see by this map of reported sightings. So some describe another version of a dogman, sometimes called a type 3, a Sasquatch looking creature with the face of a dog. So here's one story that is similar to how many sightings of a dogman or dogmen go down. A man and his mom were sitting on their porch that faces an alley when it got eerily quiet. They turned their attention to where a trash can had fallen over. They thought they saw just a big dog, but it got up on its hind legs. Its height was taller than the security fence their neighbors put up. His mom went inside and he backed away slowly into his house. Now he says he won't walk anywhere at night alone. While there is a large sum of people who have reported sightings where they said they felt frightened, few sightings have resulted in actual attack or harm. And that being said, if you come across a dogman and feel frightened, like you could be attacked, just walk away, because you just don't want to risk it. Honestly, no. And so yeah, we talked about dogman, so we need to talk about number 4. Goatman. He is described as half goat and half human, as the name suggests. Goatman walks on 2 legs and is 7 feet tall. I feel like a lot of these are 7 feet tall or 7 feet long. Just saying. So the story goes that a scientist was experimenting on ghosts until one experiment backfired. Then he was mutated, becoming goat-like himself. He then began attacking cars with an axe, roaming the back roads of Beltsville, Maryland. He has been blamed for the deaths of countless hikers. In 1962, Goatman allegedly slaughtered 14 hikers after they went too close to his hideout. It was written, he chopped his victims to pieces while emitting screams that only the devil himself would make. Now people believe he hides out under an old bridge, waiting for his next victim. At number 3, Altamahaha. The Altamahaha is also called Alti. It is said that it was discovered by the Tama native tribe before the British English colonization. The existence of Alti has been recognized by Native Americans for centuries. It is described as 20 to 30 feet long, with a sturgeon-like body and a bony ridge on its top. Its color is gray with a whitish yellow underbelly, but it can be shown to be green. This may be for camouflaging reasons. It has front flippers but no back limbs, and it has large protruding eyes and large sharp teeth. Apparently it swims like a dolphin but has the snout of a crocodile and big bug eyes. Basically. It's located in small streams and abandoned rice fields near the Altamaha River. So it has not been said to be explicitly dangerous, but don't go near it if you see one. If it has the face of a crocodile, you can bet it has the bite of one too. And with those, you just punch it in the nose. Or like plug its nose and it can't breathe and then you'll be let go. Just tips, pro tips for crocodiles. On to number 2, the orang pendek. So the orang pendek is a mysterious ape of Sumatra, an island of western Indonesia. In the Indonesian language, orang pendek translates to short person. So it could possibly be a homogeneous, and it's believed to be an undiscovered kind of primate species, possibly. It is most commonly described by those who have seen it as a bipedal creature that stands from 2.5 to 5 feet tall. They are covered in golden brown or gray hair and have similar mannerisms to humans. Different than monkeys, they are also said to have human-like facial features. Witnesses have also claimed to see them ripping apart logs, akin to Captain America ripping one up. That's only what I think. It could just be ripping up that way. But let's go on. Last but not least, number 1, Slide Rock Bolter. So the Slide Rock Bolter is a huge cryptid that allegedly lives in the mountains of Colorado. It has a huge head, small eyes, and a gaping mouth. It is said to look similar to a whale, with a flared tail that has enormous grabbing hooks at the end. So it was reportedly seen around the late 19th and into the 20th centuries as a popular tale among lumberjacks and miners. Also, it only lives where the slope is more than a 45-degree angle, where it hides and waits for its prey. I'm guessing it uses this angle to be able to slide towards them, as it will sit and wait until unsuspecting tourists walk by, and then it unlocks its claws and just slides towards them. Due to its size, it's said to be able to eat whole parties of tourists in just one fell swoop. Once it has caught its prey, it apparently uses its tail claws to climb back up the mountain and then rest again, waiting for the next victim. Now, skeptics say it may be a drunken lumberjack's explanation for a rock slide, but believers say it may have taken on more of a rocky look to camouflage itself nowadays, as big divots in Colorado mountains say, ooh, maybe it's there and it was sliding, eating the prey.
Number 10. Hombre Caiman. Originating from Colombia, El Hombre Caiman's legend is one that's a little weird. See, Saul Montenegro was a bit of a peeping Tom, and his favorite spots to do so was the Magdalena River. Fearing being revealed, he visited a witch and bought a potion that would allow him to turn into an alligator. Given 2 potions, the first was to turn him into his newly bescaled form, while the second was to turn him back to his usual pervy self. His system continued to his pleasure for a while, with a friend carrying the second potion and distributing it at Montenegro's leisure. However, one day the friend made a mistake, frightened by the alligator form, and dropped the reversal potion into the water. Now, Now, some of it did land on Montenegro, just enough to turn his torso back into the form of a man, but his legs remained those of the alligator, and so he remained, eternally hunted like the freak he was. Number 9. Encantado. A strange group of pink dolphins that is said to be located within the Amazon. These little weirdos are generally helpful to fishermen, with some claiming they even hold power over local weather. They're even professed to aid people that are drowning, but for all their good deeds, they do hold a pretty nasty little secret. See, the Encantado are profess to be capable of changing their form, turning into men once a year at Festa Junina. Wearing hats to conceal their blowholes, these handsome gentlemen join the festival where they seduce local women, and then proceed to leave them with a child that they won't be planning to raise. Ew. Number 8. El Cuero. A cousin of the similarly shaped Weke Weke, this horrible monstrosity is professed to hide in lakes, floating on the water's surface. With a spotted hide, it's generally easy to mistake this creature for a discarded cow's hide, but it's best not to be fooled. Concealed beneath the skin are a collection of teeth, stalked eyes, claws that line the edges of the hide, and a mouth that can extend to better consume its prey. There are even some reports that claim El Cuero can use weaponry, mostly knives and anything else its quarry might have been carrying. Supposedly, El Cuero is particularly fond of drinking blood, a number of its teeth being fangs. With all of that in mind, it's pretty safe to say that if you see a cowhide floating on a lake, you should just leave it alone. Even better, just leave. Number 7. Maricoxi. You know, with every culture in the world having some kind of variation on the Bigfoot legend, maybe it's time we started taking them a little bit seriously. However, the Maricoxi aren't just content to blurrily walk in front of cameras. Supposedly found by Percy Fawcett in an expedition to the Amazon in 1914, the Maricoxi were reported to live near the Muksubi tribe. Upon sighting Fawcett, they reportedly made overtures of diplomacy, but negotiations crumbled as Fawcett claimed to have been threatened with a bow. They opened fire on the Maricoxi, who responded in kind. Probably would have just been better to leave them alone, you feel? Number 6. Tapir Iwara. Occasionally referred to as water jaguars, these strange creatures appear to be hybrids between tapirs and jaguars. Roughly the size of a cow, they're estimated to be carnivores, though attacks on humans are rare. Social creatures, the Tapir Iwara defend each other when threatened. Sometimes they're hunted due to being viewed as pests, though this is dangerous as one of their strangest defensive abilities is their ability to steal the soul of any who approach them. Reportedly, victims have developed mental illness and symptoms of malaria after just simply seeing or smelling the Tapir Iwara. The soul can be returned so long as a professional shaman does it, but some claim that smelling salts can be enough to get the job done. Number 5. Sasi. Generally considered to be a bit of a pain in the neck, Sasi is a one-legged man wearing a red cap and smoking a pipe. Originally from the Tupi-Guarani mythology, Sasi is generally known to reside within dust devils and is commonly attributed with their creation. There are multiple versions of Sasi, and he's known to be able to even turn invisible or shapeshift into a large bird to escape capture. When given a chance, Sasi will cause mischief in just about any way he can, hiding toys, keeping popcorn from popping, dropping rakes where people will step on them. It's generally stated that if something goes wrong, 9 times out of 10 it's because Sasi thought it'd be funny. That being said, he can be captured whether with a rosary, a bottle, or even just by stealing his red cap. From there, he might become a friend. But if he's treated poorly, you better watch out. Number 4. Yakumama. With the name Mother of Water, this massive serpent supposedly resides within the Amazon rainforest. Attributed with the birthing of all creatures in the famed Amazon River, Yakumama is known to hunt by ingesting massive amounts of water, which it then spits at its prey. The sheer force enough to knock out the victim, who will then be ingested by the serpent's leisure. Supposedly, if one decides to fish in any river and they see an unbelievable bounty of fish within its waters, they must blow a conch horn before engaging in their hunt. The Yakumama Yakamama will then reveal itself if it's nearby, its plot foiled and the fisherman given a chance to escape. The whims of Yakamama are strange indeed, as unlike most reptiles, it doesn't always consume its prey, sometimes simply frightening them to the point where they run away, though why it does this remains to be seen. Number 3. Wallapen. A Chilean creature, the wallapen resides mostly within lakes and rivers. With the body of a sheep, the head of a cow, and flipper-like feet, this creature is supposedly capable of inducing miscarriages upon sight alone. While harmless on land, wallapen are famously violent when encountered in their natural habitat. Even stranger still, they appear to be capable of mating with both cows and sheep, which does at least explain their bizarre appearance. Some believe that they might be the source of, or a possibly younger version of El Cuero, the wallapen potentially shedding its skin, which might then be taken on by or transform into El Cuero. Regardless, these creatures are just another reason why I won't be taking a dip in any rivers anytime soon. Number 2. The headless mule. We don't need a headless horseman, we've got a headless horse, man. Supposedly a curse inflicted upon a sinning woman, this creature only appears between the evenings of Thursday and the mornings of Friday. It sprints between parishes, spewing flames from its neck and stopping for almost nothing as its path eventually leads to the location where its sin was committed. Supposedly, pricking the mules with a needle can temporarily stop the curse, as can tying her to a cross, but the only way to remove the curse for good is for someone to marry her. All one needs to do to avoid being trampled is to lie down and cover oneself with nails, teeth, or anything else that might shine. This will render the victim mostly invisible to the mule, who may then leave peacefully. Number 1. Patasola. Appearing as a one-legged woman, the similarities with Saucy end just about there. Her origins can vary, but usually relate to some infidelity or act of cruelty committed before her death. When resurrected, a Patasola will begin her hunt, and is deeply protective of nature and those within. While she is known for generally just causing mischief, her grievances are more squarely aimed at hunters and loggers, interfering with their work the most. Luring her prey into the forest, Patasola then drains them of their blood, and is known to be able to shapeshift into a dog or a cow. She's also famed for singing from the treetops when she's completed a hunt.
And we're starting it off today with Pukwudgies. The Pukwudgie is a creature from Native American folklore that is said to inhabit the forests of the northeastern United States. According to legend, Pukwudgies are mischievous tricksters who can cause harm to humans if they are angered or offended. There have been a number of reported sightings of the creatures throughout Ohio. According to folklore, Pukwudgies are small, humanoid creatures that stand about 2 to 3 feet tall. They are said to have gray skin, large ears, and a large nose. Some legends also describe them as having quills or spines on their backs. They're believed to be skilled hunters and are said to use their magical powers to disappear and reappear at will. They're also said to have the ability to shapeshift into animals or objects. In some Native American traditions, Pukwudgies are viewed as protectors of the forest and are said to have the power to ward off evil spirits. However, in other legends, Pukwudgies are seen as mischievous troublemakers who enjoy playing pranks on humans. So if you do happen to see one, prepare to be clowned. Next on the list, we have the cedar bog monster. Now, this is one of those cryptids that could very well be a Sasquatch, or of course, a grassman as it's known locally in Ohio. It's more of a name given to the specific place this creature was seen though. When Cedar Bog opened as a nature preserve in 1942, people immediately began flocking to the area to witness the various species of birds, the fish and plants, and just soak in the nature. But what they didn't expect or want to see was a large, hairy humanoid creature, but many did report seeing the big ape-like creature strolling along Woodburn Road, which runs right beside the bog. They reported that whatever the thing was too large to be a man. I'm also sure the fur and gorilla-like face kinda gave that away too, possibly. There was also an incident where 3 teenagers went missing in the park while on a camping trip. Apparently, there were reports of loud screams coming from Cedar Bog. And number 8, we have the Charles Mills Lake Monster. Now, there's only one reported encounter with this creature, but it's a pretty eerie story. On the night of March 28th, 1959. 1959 is going to come up a lot on this list, by the way. I don't know what it was about that year, but there was some stuff going on in Ohio. Anyway, 3 teenage boys had been hanging out around the Charles Mill Reservoir when they suddenly saw something forming out of the dark water before them. It was a 7-foot-tall humanoid that began moving towards them. It was described as having no arms, bright glowing green eyes, and webbed feet. The teens obviously booked it out of there and reported what they saw to authorities, who made their way to the area, where they came across footprints, if you could even describe whatever made the tracks as feet. They were large indents that appeared as if they were made by webbed feet. Who knows what this thing was? Even if it was real or just a hoax, there was indeed a large fishy monster skulking around the lake. I'm guessing it must have smelt like a sewer. Number 7, alien big cats. Alien big cats are a very real thing. These are big cats like panthers or leopards found outside of their natural environments. The alien part doesn't mean that these cats are from outer space, but then again, who knows how they got there, right? In 2011, there were several sightings of supposed alien big cats in and around Dayton, Ohio. A private zoo owner by the name of Terry Thompson had released upwards of 50 animals into the wild before unfortunately taking his own life in October of 2011, which resulted in, of course, several reports of large cats spotted throughout the area. 48 of them were either put under by police or sent off to Columbus Zoo. There had been reports of alien big cat sightings before these animals were known to be released, though, which is strange. Multiple sightings of black panthers dating back to April of 2011, and police would continue investigating sightings until around April of 2012. Phantom kangaroos. Alright, so we have big cats being reported in Ohio, so now we're moving on to kangaroos. Ohio is just full of dangerous wildlife, apparently. The phantom kangaroo is a cryptid that is said to resemble a kangaroo or wallaby and is believed to inhabit various parts of the world, including the United States. Basically, again, these are kangaroos showing up in places they shouldn't be, like Ohio. Except the stranger part is that these phantom kangaroos have been spotted where no escaped kangaroos have been reported. The creature is known for its elusive nature, as well as its ability to seemingly disappear without a trace and leave no evidence behind, almost like a ghost. A phantom kangaroo, if you will. Some experts believe that these sightings may be the result of misidentifications, of course, of other animals like large domestic dogs or coyotes, but I don't know, maybe there's some kangies running around in Ohio. Number 5, devil monkeys. So yeah, it seems like there are all kinds of hairy apes and monkeys in Ohio as well. Who would have guessed? You got Grassman, who may or may not be Bigfoot, the hairy orange-eyed creature we talked about in part 1, and now this baboon-looking beast. The devil monkey is a cryptid that is believed to inhabit the forests and rural areas of North America, described as a large, aggressive primate-like creature with gray or black fur and red eyes. The devil monkey is known for its terrifying appearance and alleged attacks on humans and domestic animals. There have been numerous reports of sightings of the creature in Ohio and other parts of the US. Witnesses have described encountering a large bipedal creature that stands on 2 legs and resembles a monkey or baboon with a fierce expression and a tendency to attack without provocation. There are many folks that are convinced that the devil monkey is a real creature, and sightings continue to be reported until this day. Some cryptozoologists speculate that the devil monkey may be a new species of primate that is yet to be officially recognized, while others believe it could be a surviving member of a prehistoric primate species that was previously thought to be extinct. The Trumbull County UFO incident. Next up, we have a well-documented UFO sighting. There have been multiple UFO sightings in the state of Ohio, dating back a long ways, but this one is from 1994. I don't see why aliens wouldn't want to observe Ohio. Seems like there's a lot going on, as you could probably tell from these lists. They were hovering around, placing bets on what creature they'd spot first. Lots to choose from. There were were tons of witnesses to this odd event on December 14th, 1994. Citizens, multiple police officers, dispatchers, it was pretty significant. Multiple residents had reported seeing low flying lights in the sky. The first police officer on the scene, Sergeant Toby Malero, had a pretty odd incident. As he was moving closer to the odd lights in the sky, talking with the dispatcher the entire time, his radio suddenly stopped working and his vehicle just shut off before he was engulfed in a bright light from above. He exited his vehicle, not quite knowing how to go about this odd occurrence, and reported seeing a giant circular shaped object hovering in the sky, which apparently made no sound. Once the object flew away, his car and radio, bam, started working again. 14 other law enforcement officers also saw these mysterious UFOs that night, with one even climbing up on a radar tower for a better view, and then claimed to have seen 3 circular flying objects that changed color in unison. Number 3, Helltown. So while this one is a place and not actually a cryptid per se, it is reported to be an incredibly strange and dangerous place where all sorts of spooky happenings occur. Helltown has been left behind, now an abandoned town where nothing but empty homes, cathedrals, and unused bridges still stand, though there are some who are said to still reside there, such as ghosts, mutant animals, and cultists. The residents of the town formerly known as Boston, Ohio, had been forced to leave their homes in 1974 when President Gerald Ford signed a bill that gave the federal government's National Park Service jurisdiction to expropriate land for establishment of natural parks. The NPS began buying up properties, and eventually it was a ghost town. In the mid-80s, there were several chemical spills in Helltown that some believed resulted in the mutated animals spotted in the area. And apparently there's also a haunted school bus and stuff like that. Interesting place to go, I'd imagine. And at number 2, we have Octoman. On a cold Cincinnati night in January of 1959, police began receiving several reports of a strange octopus-like creature. It started with a man who called police in a panic, saying that he saw something come out of the river, calling it completely indescribable. This report was followed by one from a truck driver just soon after, claiming to have seen a strange creature while driving into Cincinnati. More and more reports began coming in, but it was hard for anyone to describe exactly what they were seeing. What police did note, however, was that the people calling about these encounters sounded pretty shaken up. Even though the police kind of didn't believe it, they were joking a little bit, that was one thing they did know. These people sounded like they did see something. The more reports that came in as well, the closer they would get to form a description of the creature. A very large creature with grayish skin, tentacles, and a lopsided chest. Sounds like a pretty attractive creature there. One person was stated as saying, "It was large, not a dog or a cat. It leaped in front of my car and on 2 legs and it was taller than the auto. When I looked back in my mirror, it was moving along the bridge rail. It was 3 or 4 times the size of a man and much bulkier. I have an eye in mind for dimensions, and I know it was huge." And coming in at number 1 is the Peninsula Python. Now, this is a really interesting one because it really did exist. Sure, it's not really a cryptid per se, but this was an incident that actually took place, and it's pretty wild stuff. The summer of 1944, people in Summit County, Ohio began spotting a massive-sized python in Cuyahoga Valley National Park. It was reported being around 15 feet in length and incredibly thick. It was a python, definitely a real animal. It was just in the wrong part of the world, that's all. It's still kind of a mystery as to how it got there, but it's rumored that it was being transported through the area, possibly for a circus or something, but managed to escape. Residents were understandably pretty scared that summer as the giant snake roamed through farms, leaving giant tire-sized indents in its wake. It even attacked livestock. The python was also never found, just disappeared eventually. Most likely died curled up somewhere after succumbing to the Ohio winter though.
Starting off this countdown, we have the Alaska Triangle. Turns out that Alaska has its very own Bermuda Triangle. This is referred to as the area in the southeast to the northern Borough region to the western metropolis of Anchorage. Apparently, more than 20,000 people have gone missing in this area. That's just in the past half century alone. And these people go missing
without a trace. No one knows what happens to them or where they went. So some believe that this area is home to mythological type beasts that kidnap and then eat these people. Whereas others believe that this area is home to some dark vortex that sucks these poor souls in. Regardless of what you believe in, one thing is for sure, this triangle has and continues to take the lives of many. In our 9th spot, we have the UFO base. And if you guys are still watching, hopefully smash that like button. Let me know in the comments below that you're still here. Hi. It is believed that Alaska is home to a top secret UFO base, even though it's not that top secret if people claim that there is one. Anyways, Mount Hayes is the highest mountain in the eastern Alaskan range. That's the place where people believe extraterrestrials and UFOs are located. It all started in the 1940s when a number of UFOs were spotted in that area. Eventually, the sightings got more and more frequent that the FBI was called in to investigate the area. And the sightings haven't stopped. There have been hundreds of sightings throughout the years. In fact, Pat Price, a former CIA remote viewer, even said that the mountain, and I quote, housed one of the aliens' largest bases. So this urban legend might not be so much of a legend. In our 8th spot, we have the Captain Cook. This is a cute little hotel located in downtown Anchorage. According to legends though, this hotel is extremely haunted. Apparently a woman took her life in the hotel in the 70s, and her ghost can be seen wandering the halls. In particular, she is said to haunt the woman's restroom there. Visitors also claim that doors will open and close on their own and the lights will flicker on and off by themselves. According to locals, this woman is bound to the hotel and doesn't know how to escape it. So she's just stuck there, aimlessly wandering the halls for eternity. I don't know why she would haunt the bathroom though. Like, that's not a place I would hang around in if I was a ghost. Moving on at number 7, we have Keelut. A Keelut is said to be an evil earth spirit that appears in the form of a black dog that's completely hairless, but it does have hair on its little feet. But only its feet. Apparently this dog then stalks travelers at night and has been known to attack and kill them. Those that have apparently seen this spirit say they saw dog tracks in the snow that then disappeared right in front of their own eye. That's apparently a sign that the Keelut is nearby. In Inuit legend, the Keelut is said to be a spirit of death. Others believe that it's a real-life cryptid. Scariest part? Apparently, just by looking at this creature, they can cause victims to become disoriented and spiral into madness. They then will become lost and perish from hypothermia. The Keelut waits until this moment and then attacks and eats its victim. In our 6th spot, we have Mother Lode Lodge. Located in Palmer, this lodge is said to be very haunted. In fact, it literally has been known to spook even the hardest of souls. According to local legend, this hotel is haunted by a number of different spirits. Most famously, there's this black apparition ghost, given that name because it always appears as a black cloudy apparition. People have seen this spirit wandering the grounds. Another ghost is a figure that's dressed in black. This figure likes to show itself in mirror reflections. Just sounds like Bloody Mary to me. No thank you. On top of that, people have reported hearing strange noises in the middle of the night and have seen curtains open and close by itself. It's a good place to go ghost hunting, but a bad place to spend the night. We're now at our 5th and halfway mark with the aliens. In late fall through winter to early spring, the northern lights can be seen on nights with clear skies. I've always wanted to see the northern lights, like they're quite beautiful. But according to a weird urban legend, it states that the northern lights are produced by aliens. Yeah, you heard me. Legend goes that aliens create these beautiful lights so that they can then fly through the air undetected. In fact, cosmonaut Ivan Wagner was filming the northern lights when he captured a UFO flying by. Plus, there's already a ton of UFO and alien sightings in Alaska. So, could it be that this legend is true? That the aliens are behind this colorful display of lights? Moving on to number 4, we have the sea monster. Located in the waters near Kodiak Island lurks a close relative to the Loch Ness Monster. It has since been given the name the Kodiak Sea Monster. It all started in 1971 when a group of fishermen set sail. That's when they encountered this massive sea beast. One of the fishermen said, and I quote, "We don't know what it was, but it had a grayish color and we couldn't see any fins or any tail, and it never made any noise. It would just come up and you could see the head and part of the body." Another man described it as being 30 feet long and had a head on it that looked kinda like a horse. Then in 2002, it was seen again, this time by a different group of fishermen. They described it as having a massive head and neck. They couldn't tell if the head was a foot in diameter or 3 feet in diameter. To this day, the beast has never been caught, so maybe it's still out there, continuing to scare local fishermen. In our third spot, we have the Alaskan Vortex. So let's talk more about this Alaskan Triangle. The missing persons rate in that area is more than twice the national average. It's insane. As I mentioned briefly, some people believe that a vortex is to blame for all the disappearances. Legend goes that the vortex basically sucks people in and then transports them to different dimensions. Let's look at some of the facts used to support this theory. For starters, apparently the area has a huge number of magnetic anomalies. It throws off compasses and has even made people feel sick. A number of rescue workers that have gone into the area have claimed to feel disoriented, lightheaded, and have experienced auditory hallucinations. This could be evidence that a vortex is present. Moving on to number 2, we have the Bigfoot. Alaska apparently has its own Bigfoot. They call it the hairy beast, and apparently it lives in Port Chatham. It all started back in the 1930s when a number of people went missing in this area. In 1931, a man named Andrew Kamluck went out logging. He was later found dead in the forest with a bad blow to his head. Around the same time, another man was out in the area and randomly disappeared without a trace. And then another man named Tom Larson was out chopping wood when he saw this hairy beast on the beach. The creature was just standing there staring at him. It didn't attack him though. There are more stories that involve people mysteriously disappearing or dying in the area, and they blame it on this mysterious hairy beast. In fact, on a number of other occasions, people have seen like weird man-like beast footprints in the mud, which they believe is from this terrifying creature. And in our number 1 spot, we have the Chupacabra. Otters are cute little cuddly animals that are pretty innocent, right? Well, not in Alaska. You gotta be careful with the otters out there, because they might actually be shape-shifting creatures known as Chupacabra. The Chupacabra is said to be a cross between an otter and a man. In some stories, these creatures are said to be helpful, but in most stories, they are deceptive and evil creatures. They tend to mimic the screams of women and children so that fishermen will be like, "Oh my god, someone's out there, I need to help them, I'll save them," and then they go to help and they just get killed. They are also said to appear when people are vulnerable. Maybe there's a lost fisherman or hiker or someone that's injured. They'll come and be like, "We're here to help you, to rescue you." Instead, they'll lead you deeper into the wilderness and either tear you to pieces or turn you into a Chupacabra to prevent your soul from ever being able to reincarnate. Wow, that's terrifying. Plus, the fact that they can also shapeshift into an otter is really weird. Like, so maybe you're out on the water and you're like, "Oh, cute, look at that little otter," and then all of a sudden it's like psych and then grabs you and pulls you into the water. Watch out.
In the vast, untamed wilderness of Texas, whispers of a fearsome creature known as the Wampus Cat have echoed through the ages. Countless locals hailing from remote towns and ranches claim to have encountered this enigmatic cryptid, leaving an indelible mark on the region's folklore. Descriptions of the Wampus Cat vary, but a common thread weaves throughout. It's a creature with the body of a monstrous feline, possessing sleek black fur that glistens under the moonlight. Its piercing, glowing eyes pierce through the darkness, striking fear into the hearts of those who dare to gaze upon it. As diverse as the Lone Star State itself, some say the Wampus Cat prowls silently in the dense pine forests of East Texas, emitting blood-curdling cries that reverberate through the night. Others claim to have witnessed the creature sprinting across open plains, leaving behind a trail of shattered trees and trampled earth. The bravest souls speak of unsettling encounters near secluded water sources where the Wampus Cat is said to drink, its presence sending wildlife scattering in terror. Those who have encountered the Wampus Cat speak of an uncanny primal energy emanating from the creature. Its presence is said to invoke an inexplicable sense of dread, as if crossing paths with an otherworldly force deeply rooted in the untamed heart of Texas. Whether the Wampus Cat is an embodiment of ancient ancient Native American legends or a creature yet to be fully understood, we still don't know. Number 9, the Chupacabra. The Chupacabra is a legendary creature that has gained notoriety throughout the world. Sightings reported across Latin America, the United States. The creature is described as having a reptilian or canine-like appearance with large fangs and a pronounced spine along its back. It's said to prey on livestock, draining their blood and leaving behind a trail of carnage. One of the most famous encounters occurred in Texas, however, when a woman named Phyllis Canyon discovered what she believed to be the remains of the creature on the side of a road. Canyon was initially skeptical of reports of the Chupacabra, but was pretty convinced of its existence after discovering this bizarre carcass. She had also found several of her chickens dead on her property around the time she found this strange animal. Canyon's discovery sparked quite a media frenzy, with reports and cryptid enthusiasts from around the world jumping in excitement. While some skeptics dismissed the creature as a coyote or other known animal, Canyon maintained that its appearance was unlike anything she had ever seen before, and it definitely could be some sort of wild dog with mange or something, but either way, pretty gnarly looking animal. In 2001, a 19-year-old driving in Pennsylvania reported seeing a bird-like creature with a wingspan of 10 to 15 feet, and it had an elongated head. 2 other witnesses later reported seeing similar creatures in the same area, and all of this was very reminiscent of sightings in Texas in 1976 and 82 that were also described as looking sort of like an ancient pterosaur. These sightings in Texas occurred near the location where the fossil of a large pterosaur was first discovered. And what was most fascinating about these sightings were that they seemed to have occurred close together in waves. So it seems like people were really seeing something. One possible explanation could be the frigate bird, which can have a wingspan of up to 8 feet. Frigate birds tend to soar for long periods and only land to tend to their young. At number 7, we have Sasquatch, because these things are everywhere, apparently. Everyone has their own version of this big hairy beast. So look, Sasquatch needs no introduction, but I'm gonna give the big hairy lug one anyway. The Sasquatch, or Bigfoot, as he's commonly known, is basically the ultimate celebrity cryptid. Everyone knows who he is, but nobody has actually seen him in person, or have they? Apparently, Texas is home to many Bigfoot sightings. It seems that he's been spotted more than a few times wandering around in the woods. Some people claim that he's up to 10 feet tall, because everything is bigger in Texas, covered in hair, and smells like a wet dog. Others say that he's more of a gentle giant who just wants to be left alone. All I know is there really are Bigfoot roaming around in the wilderness of Texas. They gotta be just sweltering hot with all that fur. The legend of the donkey lady of San Antonio is a famous Texas urban legend. According to the legend, the donkey lady is a half-human, half-donkey creature that roams the area. Some say she was once a beautiful woman who was tragically burned and disfigured in a fire. Some say she was thrown in a river with her pet donkey and now haunts the Elm Creek Bridge. Some claim to have actually seen her, and it's a tale that's been passed down from generation to generation, and who knows, maybe there's some truth to it. I mean, if you squint your eyes while looking at a donkey long enough, it sort of looks like a person, right? And if you've ever heard a donkey braying in the middle of the night, not hard to imagine it could be some sort of supernatural creature. Then again, maybe the donkey lady is just a misunderstood animal, human hybrid who's just trying to find her place in the world. Up next, we have the skunk ape. Oh boy, do I love the skunk ape. The skunk ape is a legendary cryptid that is mostly seen in Florida, but there have also been numerous sightings in Texas and a couple other states. This creature is similar to Bigfoot, but it is said to have a distinct odor. That's the name. And it also likes hanging around swamps. That's where most apes tend to hang out in nature. Many people have claimed to have seen this elusive creature, and some even have photographic evidence to support their claims. In 2000, a series of photos surfaced taken by a woman on her back porch that showed what appeared to be a skunk ape walking through a swampy area, and I have always loved these photos. Yes, it could definitely be an escaped orangutan or something, but it's pretty freaky nonetheless. And if it is a costume, which I really don't think it is, it's gotta be a pretty damn good one. The photos were taken in Florida, but it's not surprising that there have been sightings in Texas as well. After all, Texas is a vast state with plenty of forests and wilderness areas where a creature like the skunk ape could hide. Despite the many sightings and alleged evidence, there are still skeptics who don't believe in the existence of skunk ape, but for those who have seen it or have smelt its distinctive odor, there's no denying there is something strange and mysterious lurking in the swamps and woods of Florida and Texas. The black-eyed children. Black-eyed children are a mysterious and creepy phenomenon that have captivated the attention of paranormal enthusiasts for years. The supposed sightings involve encountering children with completely black eyes, just no sclera in there, and they seem to appear out of nowhere and ask to be let into people's homes or vehicles. Sometimes they ask you to help them with a small favor, but their true intentions are sinister because they have pure black eyes. Some people believe these children are demonic or extraterrestrial in origin, while others believe they are simply a creepy urban legend. The first written account of the black-eyed children, or at least the most famous, came from Texas reporter Brian Bethel in 1996. Bethel shared his experience of encountering two children with completely black eyes while sitting in his car. Since Bethel's account, numerous reports of black-eyed children have emerged, with many claiming to have reported feeling a sense of dread and unease when encountering these mysterious rascals. And I think I know why people feel a little off seeing these kids. Their eyes are pure black. That would do it for me. The Beast of Bears. The Beast of Bears is a cryptid that is said to roam the wilds of Texas, resembling a large, scarred-up bear with missing patches of fur. It's rumored to live near swamps, adding to the creature's mysterious allure. Some even say that it has gills, making it a truly unique and peculiar creature. What kind of bizarre mashup of things is this? Goatman apparently has gills too, so why are all these big hairy Texas monsters also aquatic? Anyway, the Beast of Bears also boasts large red eyes like those of the Mothman, which only adds to the intrigue surrounding this cryptid. The first sighting of the Beast of Bears was in 1973 at a camping spot near the town of Alice, Texas. Since then, over 31 sightings have been reported, with the most recent being in a backyard outside Crestview, Florida. However, the Beast of Bears is most closely associated with Texas. Many reports of sightings coming from various parts of the state. Despite skeptics dismissing the Beast of Bears as a hoax, there is evidence to suggest that the creature may be real. Even a drawing of the creature suggests that it may be found not only in Texas, but also up in Canada. Some have even linked the Beast of Bears to Inuit stories about giant bears that drag people underwater and eat them. And coming in at number 2, the Lake Worth Monster. The Lake Worth Monster, also known as the famous Goatman, is a cryptid that has long captivated the attention of Texans. Sightings of the creature began in the summer of 1969, when a group of people reported encountering a strange half-man, half-goat-like creature near Lake Worth, just outside of Fort Worth. Descriptions of the creature vary, but most witnesses report seeing a towering, hairy beast with a goat's head, cloven hooves, and the ability to leap great distances. Some descriptions of the strange beast, and some even describe it as having fishy scales all over its body, which don't seem to fit. But anyway, over the course of several weeks, the creature was allegedly sighted by numerous individuals, leading to a media frenzy and an increased public interest in the elusive creature. One article written by reporter Jim Mars was written with the, I gotta say, hilarious headline, "Fishy man-goat terrifies couple parked at Lake Worth." Love that. Some locals claimed the creature was aggressive, throwing car tires and rocks at those who stumbled upon it, while others reported it simply observing them from a distance. And finally, we have the NASA gargoyle. There have been multiple sightings of this mysterious creature, but the first reported sighting, and definitely the most famous, was from NASA employee Frank Shaw, who worked in Houston's Johnson Space Center. Shaw had reported walking back to his car after his shift and spotted what looked to be a large, winged, jet-black humanoid creature perched on one of the Space Center's buildings. Suddenly, it started unfurling its wings, which apparently made this awful crackling sound, and then it just swooped into the air. I'm picturing the creature from Jeepers Creepers here, so not pleasant. Shah had been completely stunned, frozen in fear at the sight of whatever this beast was, but suddenly kind of snapped out of it as soon as the thing flew into the air and started making his way back to his car, where in classic horror movie fashion, he struggled to get his keys into the door. I'm picturing him just kind of like dropping them a couple times. But he finally got into his car and just flew out of there. Here's what's really interesting about this incident though. Apparently there were other employees at the station who had also had encounters with the winged monstrosity. Apparently there had been a file opened on the creature just a few months before Shah saw it, after 2 German shepherds at the station had been found completely mutilated in the same area as Shah's sighting, so that's pretty interesting.
At number 10, we have Kasagatha, a giant ball of tentacles from a cosmic world too insane for our minds to understand. She is one of the oldest beings in the universe and is known for having a fierce temper. It's said that she can use her tentacles to reach out and pluck any living thing from its home and devour it in one bite. And if that wasn't enough to freak you out, I have a video that might be this queen of terror flying through Earth. Wow, that looked terrifying. If I ever saw something like that coming in a fog, I think I would just go back inside and watch Infinity War again. I'd be like, yeah, that's how I want to go up. I don't have any choice right now. I'm gonna die doing this. And of course, there's a good chance that this video is edited, but what's the fun in that? Let's believe together that there's a giant squid monster out there that would kill any of us in a moment and can make you drift into madness just from looking at it. That's cool. At number 9, we have Gnast. The Gnast are some of the smaller creations from the Lovecraftian universe. They have long, slim arms and legs, kind of like a Slender Man crossed between some sort of feral dude. They also have humanoid faces but lacking noses and ears. They have sharpened teeth and kangaroo-like legs with hooves for feet. Their bodies are hairless and their skin is pale white. They are about the same size as a man, and all these characteristics sound very similar to the extremely popular creepypasta, The Rake. There are so many similarities between these two monstrosities, and there is a ton of online reports of people seeing the Rake in real life or being attacked by this creature. So most of you are like, well, those are fake. But if even one of them is true, we might have a Gnast running around trying to kill people, and it just has been named something else for a new generation. At number 8, we have the Deep Ones. Fish-like humanoids that look a lot like the King Zora from Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. They will sometimes mate with humans who they find wandering by large bodies of water. But I can't imagine these creatures would be that sexy. In other words, you wouldn't want them to swim up to you and give you a nice fishy cold kiss unless you want to know what the ocean tastes like. Ugh. They live deep underwater and worship the fish god Dagon. With their fishy features and interest in mating with people, it sounds a lot like mermaids. Basically, they all do the same things, and mermaids have been sighted and reported throughout history. In the 17th century, Captain Richard Whitbourne reported seeing mermaids off the coast of Newfoundland. He said that they were beautiful and they would try to seduce him. Sounds a lot like the Deep Ones. All these underwater creatures are a horny bunch, that's for sure. At number 7, we have Dagon. Dagon? 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 Correct me in the comments. This massive immortal fish who the Deep Ones pray to. He is their god, and due to his massive size and power, he has earned the right to be worshipped. He is an old great one. He belongs to the same family as the Lovecraft superstar Cthulhu. It is his destiny to mate with Mother Hydra. I assume to make a lot more crazy fish monsters that would take over the world. And we might have some footage of him for you. That footage was from a hurricane moving through Miami, and if I was a giant cosmic fish monster, I would say that a massive storm would be my main form of transportation. Also, that noise it makes is terrifying. Like most mythical creatures, there isn't a clear shot of it. Maybe they all have a hidden power to blur themselves out of any sort of footage. The good news is that if Dagon is real, he likes to be worshipped. So we could make some sort of deal with him. We pray to you, you don't kill humanity, everybody wins. At number 6, we have Mygos. These guys are trippy and have a lot going on. They look like some sort of crustacean that has reproduced with a fungus and then sprouted wasp wings. They are extremely intelligent and able to travel through the solar system and beyond with ease. They take humans from Earth and transport them to Pluto and remove their brains. They worship the old gods and once waged war on the elder things prior to humans walking the Earth. Their appearance being crossed between an insect and a fungus reminds me of something that still exists here on Earth. Let's have a look at this.
From this bulbous container, spores will be cast into the air currents, where they will claim more ant victims. But it's not just ants. Many others are infected by the cordyceps fungus.
That was the cordyceps fungus. It infects insects, driving their minds crazy until they die. Then the fungus will grow out of their dead bodies, spreading to other insects. These deformed corpses of insects look very close to the description of the Migos. The Migos existed on Earth long before people ever walked the Earth, and there are some biologists who think that fungus are even older than the Earth and that they could have come from space. Could this fungus be a descendant of the Lovecraftian monster, slowly getting stronger, taking over minds one by one until it's able to reclaim the Earth and return to its final form? At number 5, we have the night gaunts. These are demonic looking creatures that have featureless faces, dark thick skin, large bat-like wings, and clawed hands. Nightmares of these creatures would torment H.P. Lovecraft when he was a child. I would assume that Lovecraft had a mind for the dark and twisted from an early age, and that's how he was able to come up with so many terrifying beasties. The description of these creatures seems to be very similar to many beings that have been mentioned throughout history, like gargoyles, demonic winged creatures that would come alive only at night, sometimes to snatch away children, or even demons from the Bible, flying out of fiery hell to consume the people of Earth and spread darkness. Maybe all the nightmarish night gaunts that Lovecraft saw when he was a child weren't just in his head, but they were really tormenting him, trying to take him away and corrupt his soul. He had to tell himself that they were just part of his imagination so he could stay sane. Now a few viewers are going to grow up with a fear of gargoyles and then remember this video 15 years from now when they're in therapy. At number 4, we have the Gloon. A trickster and a horror. Gloon originally presented itself to man in the form of the Greek god of wine Dionysus, but it didn't take long for his true form to come out and terrify his victims. Its real form is that of a giant slug with thick skin and a body that is long and grotesque. It is able to manipulate the minds of the people around him either for consumption, worship, or to do its bidding. It's said that Gloon has been locked away in the sunken city of Atlantis but is still able to use its powers to manipulate people. It will force them to walk into the ocean and drown themselves. This is the beast's helpless attempt at trying to get some poor soul to free it from its prison. There have been tales of demons that walk around in the forests of Peru. They will find people who are sleeping, whisper to them in their sleep, and then lead them to water. It's said that the demon will then drown them and then take them to their underwater world. This could be Gloon using its powers to try and free itself. Let's hope it stays locked up. At number 3, we have Nyarlathotep. He is also one of the great cosmic gods of the Lovecraftian universe, but what makes him so much more dangerous than the rest of the ones we've gone over so far is that he is not asleep. The other gods stay in a constant hibernation, but not Nyarlathotep. He has been banished from Earth, but that doesn't mean he won't use his great power to visit the Earth in various ways. It's said that he has 1,000 other forms. He usually comes to Earth in the form of a pharaoh or leader of a cult, someone to gain praise from followers and try to increase his power. So perhaps we have seen him, we just never knew it. Some cults that have popped up throughout history could have been the great god in disguise. The infamous cult leader Jim Jones talked of alien beings and how his followers' souls would be transported into space. Could this have been the work of the Lovecraftian monster all along? At number 2 on our list is Azeroth. This is probably the Lovecraftian monster that I am most afraid of. Azeroth is a cosmic being that sits at the center of the universe and is constantly lulled to sleep by the song of a powerful god. It's Azeroth who created the universe, and if he ever wakes up, it will be he who ends it. His consciousness is life and death. Now, how could anyone ever see something that sits at the center of the universe? Well, if this creature exists, then proof of it would be the Big Bang. The cosmic microwave signals that are picked up throughout the universe could be the murmurs of its sleep. Let's just hope that the being singing to it never loses its tune. And for our number 1 spot, we have Cthulhu. So I had 2 options here. I could have left Cthulhu off the list because everyone knows Cthulhu, or I could have just slapped him at number 1. And I was like, dude, this guy's the poster boy for the whole brand of this genre of horror, and we might have a clip of him caught on camera. He's got the wings, he's got the size, and he's making that horrible booming noise. A video like this is enough to make you go on a conspiracy theory deep dive. Out of all the footage I've shown you so far, I would say that I believe this one is real the most. It just kind of looks like the real thing. Of course, if it is real, you better put a squid on your head and start praying to your new god, because all the other ones are dead.
And we're starting off this list today with the Werewolf of Defiance. It's the summer of 1972. 2 railroad workers were hard at work on the Norfolk and Western Railway when all of a sudden, one of them, Ted Davis, looked up to see a large wolf-like creature with a wooden board grasped between its paws, which it then whacked the man in the shoulder with before turning off into the bushes to run away like a coward. 5 days later, Ted and his coworker Tom Jones returned to the railway for another day's work, hoping they wouldn't be seeing the big furry monster again. Only they did. Only this time it was a bit of a safe distance away. Not that I'd ever feel a safe distance away from a werewolf, but that's just me. And then they reported the sightings to the police. Right around this time, more and more Wolfman sightings began piling in, and locals began to panic about the potential of being mauled by a 6-foot tall werewolf. Imagine actually like feeling that was a possibility. Like you're heading out of the grocery store and you're like, damn, like really hope I don't run into a lycanthrope today. That's their life, apparently, in Ohio. Up next, we have the Loveland Frog. This mysterious creature has been reported to have been sighted in Loveland, Ohio. The amphibious creature is said to resemble a bipedal frog, standing upright on its hind legs, measuring up to 4 feet tall. Not that big, but pretty big for a frog, though. Got leathery skin, webbed fingers and toes. You all know how frogs look. And it's also got those iconic glowing large eyes. The first reported sighting of the Loveland frog was in 1955, when a man claimed to have seen 3 of them on the side of the road holding some kind of strange wand-like device. Again, only in Ohio would you spot 3 large frogs practicing magic under a bridge. I really gotta visit Ohio sometimes. It just seems like such a fantastical place. Again, Narnia got nothing on Ohio. Anyway, since that initial 1955 sighting, there have been several other ones, including one by a police officer in 1972 who reported seeing a creature fitting the description of the Loveland frog scuttling across the road and then hopping over the guardrail into the Little Miami River. Another officer even claimed to have shot at the creature, but it escaped. Some people believe the Loveland frog is an escaped exotic pet or mutated frog, while others speculate that it is a supernatural type of creature. At number 8 on the list, we have melonheads. The melonheads are a group of cryptids that have been reported to have been sighted in various locations in Ohio, but are primarily found in the Cleveland suburb of Kirtland. These creatures are said to be small in stature, with large, bulbous heads and distorted facial features. According to legend, they were the result of an experiment gone wrong in which scientists conducted unethical experiments on orphans, resulting in the creation of these strange bobble-headed beings. Some variations of the story also claim that the melonheads are the descendants of a family who suffered from a rare genetic disorder, maybe, that caused their heads to grow abnormally large. Some even say they could be of extraterrestrial origin, which whatever they are, though, I want to see one. I'm telling you, I'm coming to Ohio to go on a full cryptid scavenger hunt, and I'd better see me a weird deformed melonhead. And number 7, it's Bessie. The Bessie Lake Monster, or the Lake Erie Monster. It's a legendary creature that is said to inhabit Lake Erie. The creature is described as a big, similar in appearance to Loch Ness Monster, kinda long-necked, humpback, as well as a serpentine, kind of dinosaur-like body. The first reported sighting of Bessie dates back to 1973, when a duck hunter saw a large serpentine-like creature thrashing in the lake and startled by his gunshots. And since then, numerous sightings have been reported over the years. Some eyewitnesses claim to have seen the creature swimming close to their boats or even on the shore, while others have reported hearing strange, eerie sounds coming from the water. Despite many attempts to capture or study the creature, there is no concrete evidence of its existence. However, the legend of Bessie persists, and many people believe that there is something mysterious lurking beneath the surface of Lake Erie. When it comes to creatures that reside in the water, I gotta say, seems plausible. We don't spend a lot of time underwater, Lots could be lurking in those murky depths. You never know. Number 6, Mothman of Gallia County. Most of us have probably heard of the infamous Mothman. Large, winged, glowing red eyes. It was first reported in West Virginia in 1966, but one of the most famous sightings of this large flying insect was over the Silver Bridge that connected Point Pleasant, West Virginia to the village of Gallipolis, Ohio. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but I think it's Gallipolis. This sighting happened just a year after the first reported Mothman sighting, and right around the time when the creature was spotted on the Silver Bridge, it collapsed. And some still believe that this mysterious cryptid was the one responsible. There have also been reported Mothman sightings before other big disasters, which has led some to speculate as to whether Mothman is a bad omen or if it is simply appears as kind of like a warning of impending doom, bad or good. Orange eyes. Now, this is a Sasquatch type creature that could very well be the same type of creature as a couple others we'll be discussing on the list. There are many Sasquatch variations seen throughout Ohio, but this one is famous for, as you could probably imagine, it's got these glowing orange eyes. There have been reports of strange creatures with orange eyes lurking in Ohio, said to reside in the Riverside Cemetery before moving to the woods by Mill Lake. Witnesses described the creature as resembling a large bipedal humanoid with a muscular build and a hunched posture. Its eyes, once again, seem to emit an otherworldly glow. The creature is reportedly very fast and agile and has been known to vanish into thin air when pursued. Some locals believe that Orange Eyes is a Bigfoot type creature, but there are also those theories that maybe a kind of supernatural being or extraterrestrial entity as well. At number 4, we have Dogman. Most Dogman reports come out of Michigan, but there have been sightings in Ohio as well. According to witnesses, the Dogman is a bipedal, wolf-like creature that stands between 6 and 7 feet tall with a muscular build and a snarling dog-like face. The first reported sightings of the Dogman in Ohio occurred in the late 1980s. Since then, there have been numerous other sightings reported in the state. Witnesses have reported seeing the creature hunting in the woods, stalking prey, even running across highways at high speeds. Some skeptics believe that the sightings, of course, may be misidentifications of known animals like bears or wolves, while others believe that the Dogman is a real undiscovered species that is yet to be officially documented by science. Number 3, the Crosswick Monster. Now, there's only one report of this cryptid, but it's quite the entertaining tale. It's like something out of a classic 1950s monster movie or something like that, and it's a pretty famous piece of Ohio cryptid folklore. The story goes that in 1882, two boys, Ed and Joe Lynch, began hearing strange sounds coming from the tall grass of a bush behind them. They were fishing, and then before they had time to think, a large four-legged lizard creature popped out from the bushes and began making its way toward them. The boys tried to make their escape, but it caught the 13-year-old Ed in its mouth and began dragging him towards a large hollowed-out tree. 3 men had heard the boys screaming and managed to make it to Ed's aid before he was pulled into the tree, although he was badly injured. A group of about 60 men were formed, armed with axes and clubs, and they tried to slay the beast, but the creature managed to escape, actually standing on its hind legs at one point. It's pretty horrifying. The group chased the creature, which retreated into a hole under a large hill of rocks. The creature was never seen again. Described as black and white in color and roughly 12 feet in length. Number 2, the Minerva Monster. This has to be one of the most famous Sasquatch sightings in Ohio. In August of 1978, in the village of Minerva, the first sighting of the creature was reported by the Caton family, who'd seen a large hairy creature in the gravel pit outside of their property, looking to be about 300 pounds. Soon became known as the Minerva Monster and terrorized the Caton family on more than one occasion. They described seeing it peering through their kitchen window one night, awful, and when police came to investigate, they saw large footprints around their home with a terrible smell lingering in the air. The creature was also reported to have thrown rocks at their home one day, and they even reported seeing 2 large hairy bipeds on a hill by the strip mine near their property. The family has been adamant about what they saw ever since, and their story has remained consistent. It wasn't just the Catons who had run-ins with the large ape-like creature, though. Other locals began reporting seeing a similar creature in and around the Minerva area around the same time. And that's going to bring us to our number 1 spot, the Ohio Grassman. There's a very good chance that the Minerva Monster and Orange Eyes are the very same creature I'm describing here, as they're all big, all furry, ape-like creatures. Grassman is pretty much Ohio's nickname for Bigfoot, described as a large, hairy, bipedal creature standing between 7 and 9 feet tall. Grassman is said to have human-like face and a muscular build. Witnesses have reported hearing eerie vocalizations and howls coming from the woods, as well as seeing large footprints that they believe belong to the creature. The first reported sightings of the Ohio grassman occurred in the late 1800s, but the creature gained widespread attention in the 1970s when multiple sightings were reported in the state. Since then, there have been numerous other sightings reported in the area, while some skeptics dismiss the sightings, of course, as misidentifications of, animals or even hoaxes. Others believe that the grassman is real and he's an undiscovered species. So I don't know, what do you think? As always, let me know your thoughts in the comments.